Welcome to the fantasy audiobook. Grand Voyage. The SvenScum of the Grand Line. Chapter 81. Ouch, it's so scary. Feeling the murderous aura coming from behind, Kizaru said slowly. But he still looked as usual, even against the threats of Dorag and Beckman at the same time. He was not afraid at all. Because he is Marine Admiral. Marine's highest combat power. Beckman, this is my fight. Drago said coldly, obviously not happy because of Beckman's help. Dorag, this is a battlefield, have you forgotten the purpose of our coming here? We didn't come to fight. Beckman reminded that his eyes were still fixed on Kizaru. The enemy is Marine Admiral, but it should not be taken lightly. Drago frowned, then looked at the three of Luffy Ace Rayleigh on the execution platform. Then leave it to you. Drago stepped on his feet and quickly flashed past Kizaru's side. As the leader of the Revolutionary Army, he has a decisive personality and naturally understands what is the most important thing at this moment. Just as he moved, bang! A shot rang out. A bullet entwined with supreme haki erupted from Beckman's gun. Hit Kizaru straight in the head. Apparently Beckman had no intention of letting go. And just as the bullet was about to pierce Kizaru's head, I saw his figure turned into a yellow beam. Vertical line refraction out. Yada mirror. Kizaru's figure quickly condensed and formed in front of Drago, his right foot was raised, and he was about to blast at Drago's head. The next moment, Beckman's figure also quickly appeared in front of Drago. I saw his right foot lifted, and a tyrannical haki condensed on him. Boom! The 2 feet haki collided with each other, and suddenly a shock wave visible to the naked eye spread out around the two of them. In an instant, heaven and earth changed color. The ground cracked. Such a powerful haki made some weak marine soldiers and pirate soldiers foam at the mouth. Just fainted. Drago didn't hesitate at all, stomped on his feet, and swept past Kizaru quickly again, and flew towards the execution platform quickly. My God, is this the strength of the world's top powerhouse? This is too terrifying. Both of them are so strong. The match between Marine Admiral and the Emperor's deputy is too shocking. The people of the world watching the live broadcast at this moment are all shocked and their faces are incredulous. Although it is known that Marine Admiral and Huangfu are the top masters of their respective factions, but no one has seen them fight each other. And this time Kizaru and Beckman have explained to everyone that this is the battle of the top powerhouses. Oops, it seems that you can't get away unless you solve it. This time Kizaru did not choose to pursue. Instead, he looked at Beckman coldly. Beckman didn't speak, just slowly pulled out the long knife from his waist. Haki all over his body condensed. Obviously, fighting between the two sides is inevitable. And the other side of the moment. Oops, Marco, I didn't think we ended up fighting. Blackbeard's right hand released a black breath, and the corner of his mouth grinned. In front of him is Marco, who is surrounded by blue flames. Let me take the place of Daddy and punish you, the guy who betrayed his family. Marco roared angrily and quickly rushed towards Blackbeard. Come on, let me take a look at you, the captain of the first team, how strong you are, but don't let me down. Blackbeard smiled coldly, revealing ruthlessness in the corners of his eyes. Just let this group of Whitebeard pirates see. Blackbeard teach, once looked down upon by them, is just how strong. I saw Blackbeard's right hand turned black, and at the same time, black smoke came out of his body. Marco, don't touch him, that's Dark Fruit's ability. Ace on the execution platform saw the battle between the two sides and hurriedly reminded loudly. You must know that the original self was planted on this ability. Now, of course, I don't want Marco to repeat the same mistakes. And Marco just looked solemn, and did not attack easily. As the second in command of the Whitebeard pirates, without Ace's reminder, Marco would naturally understand that Blackbeard's arrogance must be due to his trump card. But just because he doesn't attack doesn't mean Blackbeard won't. Saw his foot stomping violently, his whole body rushing forward, and at the same time, his right hand opened and grabbed towards Marco's face. As long as it can touch the enemy, no matter what, it will temporarily disable it. That's what Dark Fruit is capable of. Marco's hands burst into blue flames and turned into the wings of the phoenix. At the same time, the feet also become bird claws. With a slight movement of his right foot, his entire body flew upwards, dodging Blackbeard's attack. The claws condensed haki and kicked Blackbeard hard in the face. If he was hit by this blow, even Blackbeard's body might not be able to withstand the damage. Blackbeard naturally understood this, but he did not show weakness, turning his left hand and grabbing Marco's right foot. Body area. Hit Marco hard on the ground. The ground cracked instantly, and a pattern like a spider web spread out. Marco spat out a mouthful of blood, and Blackbeard grabbed Marco's face with his right hand. He believed that as long as he could touch him, it would be impossible for Marco to use his abilities. He will definitely win this battle. But at this moment, Marco quickly raised his left foot, kicked Blackbeard's right palm, and at the same time borrowed the recoil. His figure quickly opened. Phoenix Seal. Blue shock waves poured out from the wings and attacked Blackbeard. Dark water. Blackbeard shouted, and the black arrogance of his right palm turned into Uzumaki. The blue shock wave was directly absorbed, but then Blackbeard spit out a mouthful of blood. He fell to the ground in pain. Dark fruit is the most special existence in Devil Fruit world. Although it can absorb all damage, it will make the user feel double the pain. And if this damage greatly exceeds the user's ability to bear, it will die. On the other side of the battlefield, Whitebeard swung a knife, forcing Akainu and Kong back. And just when he was about to throw his right fist to attack Akainu, there was a sudden burst of colic pain in his heart. Blood flowed down the corners of his mouth. "Father, are you all right?" Beside Whitebeard, a figure appeared. He has long hair, a spider pattern on his forehead, and protruding fangs. Behind him was a long knife. This person is one of the captains of the 43 pirate ships of the New World under the Whitebeard pirates. The big vortex spider, Squard. "I'm fine." Whitebeard frowned deeply. It seems that he is still the old after all. Even this battle will relapse. But these are all secondary, and what makes him most anxious is the battlefield at the moment. Although he has the help of the Red Hair Pirates, the Roger Pirates, and the Revolutionary Army. But he knew the secrets of the world, and he naturally knew how profound the Marine and the world government really was. If you can't fight quickly, I'm afraid things will have more variables. And just as Whitebeard was thinking about this, suddenly, a fierce murderous aura struck. Whitebeard's pupils contracted. I saw a long knife, pierced through my chest from behind. And the owner of this long sword. It is Squard. The sudden change on the battlefield immediately attracted everyone present. Everyone looked at Squard in shock. Even Garp, Redhead, Beckman, Kizaru and others who were fighting fiercely stopped the fight in surprise. Apparently they didn't even think about it. The crew of the Whitebeard pirates, someone would stab him in the back. You must know that this is a pirate group that dares to start a war with the world government for the sake of a son. Its internal cohesion is definitely the strongest. Yet this happened. My God, what the hell is going on? The crew of the Whitebeard pirates attacked him. Is there another traitor in the Whitebeard pirates? It's too exciting. Not only the people present were shocked, but even the people watching the live broadcast were also surprised. Squard, what are you doing? Marco, Diamond Yoja, and Foil Beasta all roared. Ha ha ha, it seems that the ship is not as strong as I thought, and I am not the only traitor. Marco, is this your proud family? It doesn't look like that. Seeing such a situation, Blackbeard laughed, his eyes full of disdain. Shut up, Marco yelled. At the same time, deep questions arose in his heart. Why did Squard backstab Dad? Kong was shocked when he saw the situation in front of him. But the next moment, his eyes suddenly turned to Akainu beside him. With his eyesight, he could naturally see that this sudden operation shocked the world. The master behind it must be Akainu. This kid's strategy and scheming are really good, vicious, cruel and ruthless. I am afraid that no one in the entire Marine can compare. Definitely the stuff for Marshal Marine. Had the position of Marshal been entrusted to him, his tough character and far-reaching strategy would surely lead Marine to the top. At this moment, Kong has made up his mind. The next Marshal Marine must be Akainu. Squard, you traitor. A voice sounded beside Whitebeard, and then the figure of Diamond Yoja flashed past, and his heavy fist slammed into Squard's chest. Squard flew upside down and slammed into the ice, spitting out a mouthful of blood. Call me a traitor, don't you know what Whitebeard did? Squard stroked his painful heart, stood up slowly, and looked at Whitebeard beside Diamond Yoja. His eyes were full of resentment. Quote. Diamond wanted to say something, but a pair of big hands pressed his shoulders, and Whitebeard slowly drew out the big knife in his chest. The blood on the knife dripped on the ground. But Whitebeard didn't care, he just looked up at Squard. He didn't speak, just waited quietly for Squard's next words. Squard continued. Stop this farce, Whitebeard. Didn't you already collude with Marine? In this war, the Whitebeard pirates and Ace will be safe. And our New World pirates are just cannon fodder betrayed by you. I've never heard of you. King Qian's Ace is Roger's son. Squard said loudly, his tone full of anger. You already knew when you took me in, the pirates I was in were all killed by Roger. Roger is my enemy, and now you asked me to save his son. Gather the 43 captains of your pirate crew and sell them for Ace's life. This is your plan, Whitebeard. For a while, the battlefield suddenly fell into a dead silence. All eyes were instantly focused on Whitebeard. Whitebeard really betrayed his pirate group. Dad, is this true? The crew members of the New World pirates all screamed in surprise, their eyes were full of incredible, they couldn't believe their father would actually betray himself. Ace on the execution platform widened his eyes, completely unable to believe what was happening in front of him. On the other side of him, Rayleigh, his eyes fell on Akainu. There is no doubt that this must be the plan of the Marine Admiral. He shook his head. Betray your family, it's ridiculous. It is precisely because he is not like this that he is called the strongest man in the world. Whitebeard was just silent, looking at Squard in front of him. Could it be true? But, looking at the scene in front of him, Akainu smiled slightly. It seems that his plan was successful. This idiot. I really believed in my plan. It turns out that before the Summit War began, Akainu found Squard, told Ace's identity and constructed an ethereal story. That is some kind of agreement between Marine and Whitebeard, CHCE. As long as Whitebeard leads his 43 pirates to join the war, that can be exchanged for Ace's life. Originally, Akainu thought the plan was a failure, but he didn't expect that idiot to actually believe it. It seems that the Whitebeard banner is not as indestructible as rumored. You idiot, you've been tricked, why don't you believe Dad? Hearing the words, Diamond immediately said angrily, although he did not know the truth of the matter, but he absolutely believed it. My father would never have thought that way. What a foolish son. Whitebeard sighed and walked slowly towards Squard. The gloomy expression on his face was visible to the naked eye, and Squard was terrified, and cold sweat was already breaking out on his face. He wanted to escape, but his legs trembled slightly. This is Whitebeard's powerful sense of oppression. The unparalleled conqueror's breath made him unable to even move. I saw Whitebeard slowly walk in front of him, his hands open, and Squard closed his eyes tightly. He knew that in front of Whitebeard, he was powerless to resist. However, just when he thought that he would be attacked and killed in the next moment, the pair of open right hands hugged him tightly. What a stupid son, but even so, I love you deeply too. Whitebeard, you. Squard tried to speak, but found himself unable to say anything. Whitebeard stood up slowly, turning his back to Squard, his eyes cold. I know how much you hate Roger, but what a ludicrous thing about fathers and sons paying their debts. You and Ace are all my family, saying that I betrayed my family. This is absolutely unforgivable. After speaking, Whitebeard's right hand hockey condensed, and an invisible force emerged. He stepped on his feet violently, the ground cracked instantly, and the invisible momentum, even the surrounding waves were constantly surging. His gaze was like a icy bayonet, swept across the battlefield, firmly nailed to Ace on the execution platform. As pirates, it's up to you to decide whether you want to believe me or not. If you want to follow me, throw your life away. Seeing this scene, the expressions of Sengoku, Garp, Kong and others changed drastically. As one of those people who knew Whitebeard best, of course they understand the strongest man in the world. Really pissed off. Squard, how could you betray us, you stupid old man? Seeing Whitebeard's actions, the crew members of the pirates immediately cheered up. At the same time, the anger in his eyes burned sharply. Without Whitebeard's explanation, they knew it had to be Marine's plan. It is absolutely unforgivable to actually alienate the relationship between them and their father. Thinking of this, everyone raised their swords and rushed towards the Marine soldiers in front of them. As if they were desperate, even if the enemy's sword slashed them, they were not afraid at all. Everyone has only one purpose, and that is to rescue Ace on the execution platform. For this, even if it is risking their lives, everyone will be willing to do so. All of a sudden, the people of the Whitebeard pirates became very popular. Looks like you've angered a king. Seeing the scene in front of him, Kong said slowly, while Akainu had a solemn expression, looking at the huge body of Whitebeard, and just said coldly, "All sins must be eradicated at all costs, even if he is the strongest man in the world." A stream of lava burst out from his right arm, Akainu's eyes were cold, and the 3 hotkeys on his body burst out at the same time. And Kong, too, with both hands condensing and forming, looking at Whitebeard rushing towards the execution platform, both of them understand that even if they are already the top powerhouses in Marine, even if they are 2-on-1, they are facing the strongest man in the world. The outcome is uncertain. The figures of the 2 disappeared instantly and rushed towards Whitebeard. Everyone obeyed the order and rushed to the execution platform with the Whitebeard pirates. In midair, Drago, who was flying fast, shouted loudly when he saw this scene. Kuka and the others, who were Roger's remnants who fought against Whitebeard for so many years, also understood. The old man was really angry. And the anger of the strongest man in the world. Even naval headquarters and world government may not be so easily accepted. For a while, with Whitebeard's rage, the entire battlefield suddenly became excited. All the people in the pirate camp had only one goal, and that was to destroy the naval headquarters in front of them and rescue their companions. What stupid thing have I done? Squard also realized at this moment that he had been deceived by Akainu, and was immediately angry, while the diamond on the side looked at him and said slowly, "This is the end, regret is useless, if you really regret it, save Ace." After he finished speaking, he no longer cared about Squard, and rushed towards the execution platform. "Marine, I'm going to make you pay." Squard pulled out the knife from his waist in grief and anger, and at the same time rushed towards the execution platform. Garp cursed inwardly and slammed his right fist into the redhead. The red hair stretched out a pair of knives to block, the ground under the 2 of them cracked again, and the 2 hotkeys formed an invisible air hood that wrapped the 2 of them. In the surroundings, a large gap had already been left. Obviously, the collision of the 2 top powerhouses is no longer accessible to the surrounding people. "Redhead, I'll settle the account with you next time." Another punch to the redhead, Garp exclaimed, then turned to leave. As Marine's top powerhouse, he naturally understands that any grievances are insignificant in front of Marine's mission. Although he didn't want to see Ace and Luffy die here, he also didn't want to see Marine's proud headquarters destroyed by Whitebeard. If Ace and Luffy are really rescued by Whitebeard, Marine's prestige and face will be thrown into the abyss before the world. At that time, the world will be more chaotic, and the consequences are definitely not something that anyone can bear. Above the sea, a pirate ship is sailing. In the room of the pirate ship, several women were watching the live broadcast of the war with great interest. In the middle of these women, Chinnuo was leisurely enjoying the service of Princess Wei next to her. A phone bug projects live images of the war on the wall. "I didn't expect that the white-haired pirates would have such a stupid person that they didn't even believe their own father." When he saw that Squard was stabbed by Whitebeard, Perona pouted and said, 863. "No way, everyone has stupid moments." Chinnuo smiled, he knew the plot already. Sooner or later this will happen. However, Whitebeard is still too kind. If it were him who dared to backstab him, he would kill him without hesitation. Stupid minions he never needed. But Chinnuo's eyes narrowed, checking the situation on the battlefield at the moment. Whitebeard pirates, red hair, pirates, Roger remnants, Revolutionary Army, Naval Headquarters, World Government. Seems to be all there. It seems that it is time to wait for someone to appear. For this moment, he has planned for a long time. The ability to capture many tyrannical powers, if the whole world can see it, this is definitely a thing worthy of incomparable excitement. Looks like it's time for us to show up. Chinnuo wanted to say something, but suddenly his face suddenly turned cold, and his figure disappeared in place in an instant. Several women were stunned, not understanding what happened. However, in the next moment, they only saw a thunderbolt falling from the sky outside the ship, piercing the sky. Boom! A huge explosion swept through in an instant. They immediately understood that something must have happened outside, and when a few people opened the door, they saw a burning smell in the air outside the cabin. 3 jet-black corpses lay on the deck with incomplete corpses. In front of the 3 corpses, Chin Nuo stood there, staring straight ahead with cold eyes. On the deck in front of him, Wu Dao's figure stood upright. They were all wearing white suits and masks, but the eyes behind the masks were staring at Chin Nuo fearfully. Just now, a few talents had just set foot on this pirate group, and they were suddenly attacked by Chin Nuo, and the speed was extremely fast. Even those who were good at escaping did not react, and immediately lost 3 partners. To their surprise, Chin Nuo could actually use the power of lightning. There is no such thing as information. Isn't the fruit that this guy eats Magneto? They are CP1. The knowledgeable and well-informed Robin instantly recognized their identities. Because these people are the espionage organizations under the world government. CP1. CP1 is the world government's second-ranked intelligence organization after CPO. They are usually assigned missions to assassinate and probe intelligence. Its strength is also unfathomable. According to legend, some members are even stronger than CP10. You are Chin Nuo, we are here on the orders of the 5 elders. Before the CP1 member standing at the forefront could finish speaking, Chin Nuo waved his hand and interrupted. His eyes swept over the CP1 member coldly, and then said slowly. I want to ask, are there any women among you? Hearing this, all CP1 members were stunned, and then they remembered the information of their master. The intelligence showed that Chin Nuo was very fond of women, and that all his ships were women except himself. As you can guess, this is a horny guy. I ask again, are there any women among you? Chin Nuo asked again, and the CP1 member in front just said softly. CP1 members, do not recruit women. This is it. Chin Nuo was thoughtful, but then his eyes immediately turned cold. If that's the case, then you all die. I'm going, this guy, horny. Although I had already prepared in my heart, when I saw Chin Nuo's CP1 members in person, I personally confirmed that the information was correct. Sure enough, this guy is a womanizer. And there are such a bunch of stunning beauties around. After being envious in Nezu's heart, the CP1 member standing at the front spoke up. Please don't get me wrong, we are not here to be hostile to you, but to have a deal. Trade. Chin Nuo's eyes turned cold. The figure disappeared in place in an instant. The CP1 member hadn't reacted yet, and felt that a sharp blade directly penetrated his chest, and blood spurted out. Cough cough. With his chest pierced, he could no longer make any sound, and his eyes were full of horror. Then he collapsed directly to the ground, breathless on the spot. Dogo. The 4 members in the back immediately took a step back involuntarily. This guy is too terrifying, he directly killed one of their members with a gesture. And even they didn't see Chin Nuo's figure clearly. Chin Nuo appeared on the spot, looked at the 4 CP1 members, smiled at the corner of his mouth, and stretched out 3 fingers. I'll give you 3 minutes, 3 minutes to finish. If you don't finish after 3 minutes, then you all stay here. Chin Nuo's eyes were cold, knowing that he was on the boat, but no one of his own men dared to come up. Cough cough. The other CP1 members who have seen Chin Nuo's terrifying power. Immediately shocked, they understood that what this man said was true. We came this time under instructions from above. Chin Nuo, join us, join the world government. As long as you join, you will become a distinguished guest of the world government, the wealth and women will be endless, and the world government will also remove you from the bounty list. And if you surrender, the world government can sabotage the CP-19 mission for you, and also invade Impel Down. Forget it. Hearing this, the women's eyes widened with disbelief on their faces. Except for the simple girl Perona, everyone else understood what the solicitation of the world government represented. What's more, it was CP1 who came to solicit in person. You must know that no one, even the previous Shichibukai, received this kind of treatment. But the world government was willing to pay such a huge capital and personally dispatched CP1 to buy it. Obviously Chin Nuo has caught their attention. Join us and you will get everything. The members of CP1 said in a relaxed tone. Because in his opinion, in the face of such courtesy and treatment, no pirate will not be tempted. You must know that in this world of the weak, joining a powerful organization is obviously an extra layer of protection. And in the world of pirates, this powerful organization There is no doubt that it is world government. As long as it is decided by the world government, anyone who wants to recruit will never refuse. This is their foundation. Because world government is the strongest in the pirate world. I didn't expect the world government to value me so much, and to send you to recruit me in person. It seems really good. Chin Nuo said slowly. But it's a pity that I'm not interested in these. If I were afraid of the world government, I'm afraid I wouldn't be here. If you want me to surrender, if there is one condition that the world government can satisfy, then it can be considered. Oh, under what conditions? The CP1 members immediately raised their eyebrows. Sure enough, in the face of the world government's solicitation, no matter how vicious the pirates will be tempted. Conditions. Chin Nuo smiled. Let the 5 elders wash my feet once. The members of CP1 widened their eyes and wanted to say something, but the next second, a huge thunder fell from the sky and slammed directly on the world. With the passing of thunder and lightning, several people did not even make a scream, and they were turned to ashes. It's ridiculous to try to recruit me. Chin Nuo smiled coldly, and behind him, several women came up. I didn't expect that the world government would personally send members of CP1 to recruit you. It seems that they really value you. Robin said slowly. When he saw the members of CP1 who had been turned to ashes, his eyes were full of pride. What about the world government? What about CP1 members? In front of his man, he is not like an ant. At this moment, Robin only felt a huge sense of happiness, gushing from the depths of his heart. In her opinion, her man is so powerful. I am afraid that it is not far away, not the world government to recruit him, but the world government will kneel and beg him. As Robin, whose home was destroyed by the world government, it is naturally extremely hateful for the world government. And when he thought of it, Chin Nuo would face the world government in the near future, and even possibly overthrow it. This man really likes me too much. Love from the bottom of my soul. But if you just killed them like this, aren't you afraid that the world government will send more people? Bonnie frowned slightly. As a former supernova, he naturally understood how unfathomable the power of the world government was. At the same time, in the face of those who dare to resist themselves, the world government will spare no effort to eradicate them. Just now, she thought Chin Nuo would accept the invitation of the world government. However, the result was obviously beyond her expectations. Hey, Chin Nuo smiled and looked not far away. It doesn't matter anymore. Because when something happens, I'm afraid the world government will hate me to the bone. I have prepared a big surprise for the world. In the sky in the distance, countless strong auras are exuding. Obviously, they are not far from the real battlefield. On the battlefield at the moment, facing the fury of Whitebeard's family being deceived, Akainu and Kong confronted him. I saw Whitebeard wield a big sword and slashed hard at Akainu in front of him. Akainu flashed past, and the lava in his right hand condensed. Hit Whitebeard hard. Whitebeard blasted his left fist, collided with the lava, and the huge force spread out, and the ground cracked. Before Akainu could breathe, he felt a fist with a powerful hockey coming from above. His pupils shrunk, and his figure was too late to respond. The fist directly bombarded his face, and blood spurted out. The whole person was directly smashed to the ground. A huge pit formed. Just as Whitebeard's sword was about to slash Akainu's head, Kong flashed and his right fist slammed into Whitebeard's chest. Not to be outdone, Whitebeard once again condensed invisible strength in his left hand and bombarded Kong with each other. Boom! The huge force spread the two of them, and Whitebeard's feet sunk deeply into the ground, drawing 2 ravines. When Kong landed on the ground, he only felt a stream of blood gushing out of his heart. Puff! Blood flowed out of his mouth. Gang Gukong didn't expect that Qian Wanghao, even if he and Akainu joined forces, they would still be suppressed by Whitebeard. Is this your strength? Whitebeard reign. The name of the strongest man in the world is indeed well deserved. No, let's guard the execution stand. An angry shout came from a distance. Kong's expression changed dramatically, and he turned to look. Immediately, he saw a scene that shocked him. Directly above the execution stand, a figure suddenly appeared. And that person is Dorig. On the chaotic battlefield at the moment, the figures of Drago and Marco appeared above the execution platform at the same time. The two looked at each other and understood that their goals were the same and no more nonsense. At the same time, he rushed to the 3 people who were being pinned on the execution platform. Storm Blade Rain. Phoenix Seal. The two of them exploded their moves at the same time, directly repelling Marine soldiers on the execution platform. But the joy did not last long, and a voice came from the heads of both sides. Don't try to succeed. I saw Sengoku's body swooping down from midair, and on his body, shining golden light burst out. In an instant, his whole person turned into a huge golden Buddha statue. And this is the fruit power of Sengoku. Human fruit. Eudemon species. Buddha form. As a figure of the era as famous as Garp Whitebeard Roger, Sengoku will never be as elegant and easygoing as his appearance, and his own strength is also extremely powerful. After all, in this era, the weak eat the strong. As Marine's marshal, its own strength is also enough to suppress the arrogant soldiers below. And Drago and Marco were naturally aware of the strength of Martial Marine in front of them, and the hockey in their bodies instantly condensed. Boom! A dazzling shockwave mixed with armed colors, and hockey erupted from Sengoku's palm. With great speed, he directly hit Dorag and Marco. Boom! The two of them were hit at the same time and flew out instantly. It fell heavily on the ground, making a big hole. Sengoku stood on the execution platform, like a supreme god, overlooking the entire battlefield. Come here if you are not afraid of death. A brief voice resounded in the audience. My god, the marshal has shot. Is this the strength of the marshal? It's too powerful. It's actually able to repel Dorag and Marco at the same time. Idiot, he is the Sengoku of the Buddha. He is as famous as Garp Vice Admiral. Seeing such a situation, the Marines burst into cheers instantly, and their morale greatly increased. Because it is in the hearts of the people. Buddha of Sengoku and Monkey D. Garp, but the supreme pride of Marine. A double giant. For a while, the Marine camp, which was suppressed by the pirates just now, cheered up again. He slashed the enemy in front of him with all his might. Doflamingo manipulated the man in his hand, and the eyes behind the sunglasses revealed extreme excitement. This war is getting more and more interesting. I didn't expect that you old guy is not old yet, and he is still as strong as ever. On the execution stand, Rayleigh looked at the golden figure in front of him and said with a smile. His eyes were full of dullness, as if the person to be tortured was not himself. HMPH, in order to suppress you horrific pirates, I don't dare to slack off. Sengoku snorted coldly. Haha, then I'm really honored, but it's a pity, it would be nice if Roger was here. I think Roger was like that when he was tortured. Rayleigh suddenly showed a hint of nostalgia. Then he seemed to think of something. Suddenly thinking of Sengoku said, the man who sent me here seems to have a lot of secrets hidden in him. Huh, Sengoku froze for a moment, then understood who Rayleigh was talking about. It was the one who dominated the war. Obai. Rayleigh nodded slowly. During his time in custody, Rayleigh also regained his composure and thought carefully. Thinking about why he was defeated by Obai. After carefully recalling the battle in which he broke his arm, Rayleigh suddenly realized. This fight is absolutely extraordinary. Because he found something terrifying. Obai is in the middle of a fight. He actually used the power of two fruits. Hey, old man, you must be tired after playing for so long. Below the battlefield, the red-haired panting said. The knife in his hand had already been hit with countless cracks. At the same time, he was also embarrassed. There was a trace of blood on the corner of his mouth. No way, even though he is the famous four emperors of the sea, this time his opponent is Marine's hero. Monkey D. Garp, even him. I also felt the difficulty of fighting. This time I didn't want to fight Garp, but to save people. But unfortunately, Garp's unfathomable strength and deep anger towards himself made Garp attempt to bypass Garp several times to the execution block. But they were all pushed back. This old guy, isn't the strength actually diminished with the years? Little devil, is because of your appearance that led to today's scene, in any case today you must die under my fist. Garp shouted, even though the red hair had also cut a few bloody cuts on his body, even though the two had been fighting for nearly half an hour. But Garp didn't look exhausted. There was still anger in his eyes. He stepped on his feet suddenly, the ground cracked instantly, and his entire body disappeared in place. The red hair was helpless, and once again raised the matching knife to block. Boom! The incomparably powerful fist slammed on his matching knife again, and under the impact of the force, the red-haired person fell backwards, and his feet drew 2 ravines on the ground. However, Garp's attack was like a hurricane, unabated. The huge fist continued to pound. Boom boom boom. A fierce explosion sounded again on the battlefield. Smoke and dust filled the air. After 10 minutes, the two separated again. The redhead stood there, frowning deeply. Then he said softly, "The purpose of my trip is to rescue your grandson, so are you going to hinder me?" As a grandfather, seeing his grandson about to be punished, doesn't your heart feel touched at all? Garp's face sank, and he turned to look at the figure on the execution platform. Garp's heart throbbed violently when he saw the 2 familiar figures of his loved ones. Yes, he is not a stone. His grandson is about to be sentenced. How could he not be touched at all? But how does this make him do it? On his first day in Marine, he was taught that everything was in Marine's interests. The purpose of their existence is to maintain the smiles of the people. If Marine disappears, how many families will be shattered and people will be displaced? It is because of this belief that he can survive in the turbulent world and become a respected Marine hero. Having seen many human tragedies born because of pirates, Garp hates pirates very much, but no matter what, he never imagined that his 2 dearest grandsons would become pirates. And the fuse of all this. It's all the redhead in front of me. As of now, it's useless to say more. As Marine, I just want to hinder you, a vicious pirate. If you rescue people, what will Marine's face be in the future? Prestige, where is it? Ordinary people in the whole world will fall into dire straits again. And just when the red-haired Garp was fighting fiercely, on the execution stand at this moment, Rayleigh was about to speak to Sengoku to tell his findings. However, the next for a moment, a figure appeared quietly beside Rayleigh from the void. In Sengoku's shocked gaze, the hilt in the figure's hand severely cut off Rayleigh's head. Puff! This is the sound of the blade cutting through the flesh. In Sengoku's eyes, he only saw a white figure that appeared out of thin air, slamming down the big sword in his hand. Cut off Rayleigh's head directly. Rayleigh's mouth was slightly open, but his eyes remained calm. If it weren't for his head that had been severed from his body, I'm afraid no one would believe it. This is already a dead man. Rayleigh, uncle. Beside Rayleigh's, 867, Luffy and Ace, both eyes widened, unable to believe everything in front of them. You must know that this is the person who was still chatting and laughing with himself a moment ago, and now he has died like this. And he's the vice captain of the Roger Pirates. The world-famous Pluton Rayleigh. Everyone on the battlefield was stunned by this sudden change. At that moment, everyone stopped and stared blankly at the situation on the execution platform. Even Whitebeard Akainu stopped fighting. Looking at the execution platform, his eyes were full of shock. Kong also frowned, looking at the white figure, and still had a guess in his heart. Rayleigh, and the most angry is obviously the remnants of the Roger Pirates. Kuka, Jabba, Fisherman Sunbell and others are all red-eyed and full of anger. You know that as your own vice captain. The man has not been rescued, but his head was cut off in front of his eyes. Ah, Marine, I'm going to kill you. The remnants of the Roger Pirates were all furious. They waved their weapons and slashed down the Marine soldiers who dared to hinder them. OMG, Rayleigh is dead. The clown Buggy looked at the scene in front of him, opened his mouth, and didn't react for a long time. Even the redhead who was fighting Garp at the moment saw Rayleigh's life and death. Extreme anger also appeared on the dignified face. Ouch yo, Pluton Rayleigh is dead. On the other hand, Kizaru, who was fighting furiously with Beckman, also paid attention to the great changes that took place on the execution platform. Beckman also stopped. Look at the head flying in the air. Known all over the world for his calmness and wisdom, he appeared shocked for the first time in his life. And just as he was distracted, a beam of light pierced through his body. The light condenses on Kizaru's fingers. It's not a good habit to be distracted in battle. And at this moment, it wasn't just the people on the battlefield who were shocked. Even the people who watched the live broadcast of the event from the outside of the battlefield immediately became excited. OMG, the famous Pluton Rayleigh is dead. Call headquarters. Call headquarters. Big news. Big news. Pluton Rayleigh was beheaded in the middle of the war. The world is going to change. Oh my gosh. The big incident of Rayleigh's beheading shook the world in an instant. In this moment, Marco and Drago, who had just eased from the smoke and dust. Looking at the head of Rayleigh flying down from the execution platform, he was also surprised. They didn't expect such a big thing to happen in such a short period of time. But looking at the flying head, Marco no longer hesitated. Spread your wings and catch with both hands. I saw that Rayleigh's face still maintained the appearance of his life, obviously not even he himself thought, in a short moment. Has entered hell. Marco's mood instantly became heavy. Although the Whitebeard pirates and the Roger pirates were said to be deadly enemies, after years of fighting, the two sides also forged a deep friendship. At this moment, I saw an old friend who I had known for many years suddenly separated. His heart was also very uncomfortable. But now there is one more important question. That is, who is it? Beheaded Rayleigh. What kind of fool is that? On the execution stand, Sengoku looked at the headless corpse with an angry expression. The golden statue of Buddha gradually dissipated, revealing his slightly distorted face that had been angered. I saw that on the execution platform, 3 figures flashed in the void, and then appeared in front of everyone. The 3 figures were all wearing white suits with strange masks on their faces. But there was an unfathomable aura from him. The figure standing at the very center was holding a handful in his hand. A long knife dripping with blood. It was obvious that he had killed Rayleigh just now. Sengoku's pupils shrank when he saw several people. As Marines Marshal, he was naturally very aware of the identities of the 3 figures in front of him. World Government's strongest cipher pull. CPOO. You must know that although the scale of this war is grand, in the final analysis it is only a war between naval headquarters and various camps of pirates. It has not yet expanded to the ingredients that spread to the whole world. So before the war started, Sengoku invokes nothing but the power of naval headquarters. But now the situation has changed dramatically. CPO, the strongest cipher pull of the world government, naturally also represents the world government. As soon as he appeared, he directly killed Pluton Rayleigh. Such an attitude can only represent one thing. World government is going to end in person. Marshal Sengoku, you are really indecisive. If that's the case, then I'll do it for you. The figure-headed said coldly, and the steel knife in his hand instantly turned into powder. In Sengoku's surprised eyes, the voice looked at the entire battlefield. Immediately, a voice came from behind the mask. Although it was not large, for some reason, it sounded like a loudspeaker was put on, and it instantly resounded throughout the battlefield. I am the leader of the CPO, Douglas Mado. Today, I am waiting for the next life to come to clean up the battlefield under the order of the world government, and at the same time declare the government's attitude to everyone. My duo's eyes swept across the entire battlefield, and finally settled on Whitebeard. Whitebeard, the strongest man in the world, you could have a good old age in peace, but you are out of your control and want to challenge the authority of the world government, then the government will not be able to spare you. When you went to the battlefield, the world government had taken over all your territory. Even if you win this war, there is no way to escape, or you are just a group of bereaved dogs. After speaking, my duo's eyes fell on the crew members of the Roger pirates. Since Roger is dead, you should settle down. How dare you come to participate in the war, and it is impossible for the world government to let it go. So, McDowell touched Pluton Rayleigh's body with his right hand. In an instant, Rayleigh's body turned to powder under the shocked gazes of everyone. No blood came out, no bones scattered. Instead, it turned into a pile of red powder. Such a terrifying and bizarre fruit ability shocked the body of the people on the field. This is a warning to you and a warning to the world. Those who dare to resist the world government are like Rayleigh, the king of the underworld, who will die without a corpse. The whole place was silent. Whitebeard clutched his heart and knelt on the ground. Although his heart was extremely painful, real blood was slowly flowing out of his mouth. But his complexion was extremely gloomy, and his eyes stared coldly at my duo on the execution platform. And on the ground where the red hair was standing, cracks spread like spider webs, showing his anger at the moment. Oh, yes, one more thing. My duo seemed to have thought of something, and suddenly said. Then his hand gradually rested on Luffy's shoulder. Monkey. Luffy, the son of Dorag, the leader of the Revolutionary Army, is really a continuation of the blood of evil. If that's the case, then it shouldn't be a pity to kill it, right? Stop. Although he didn't know what my duo's ability was, he just went in and witnessed the disappearance of Rayleigh's body. Ace naturally understood that this was definitely not a good thing. When he saw my duo's hand touching Luffy's shoulder, he glared angrily, and his eyes were full of red threads. Mado. On the ground, Garp was furious when he saw such a situation, and a strong haki burst out from his body. With a sound of boom, cracks appeared on the ground of my duo's execution platform. This is the top conquerors. As Luffy's grandfather, Garp naturally owns conquerors. And after years of fighting, it has long been the world's top. Garp, what are you doing? Sengoku shouted, and the top armament haki and Garp's conquerors collided with each other. Although Sengoku was extremely dissatisfied with the sudden action of the world government, at this moment he must firm up his position. Naval headquarters is still the subordinate of the world government. At the same time, he is very aware of how ruthless the world government is, even Garp. If the CPO is shot at this moment, then he will be listed as the enemy of the world government. Facing the furious Garp and the gloomy Drago, Mado smiled. The world government is magnanimous, Drago. As long as you lead the revolutionary army to surrender, then I can release your son, even Ace. How? Isn't the purpose of your trip just for your son? Everyone's eyes now turned to Drago, who was located below the execution platform. Drago's face was gloomy, and everyone could see that at this moment, the leader of the revolutionary army was not in a good mood. Whitebeard, whose angina was gradually relieved, stood up slowly. He looked at the direction of the execution platform and sighed in his heart. Is this the means of the world government? It's really scary. When he appeared on the scene, he directly killed the famous Pluton Rayleigh, and then directly surrendered the leader of the revolutionary army, Dorag. This is obvious. It is the world government in leeway. This war has attracted worldwide attention, and the revolutionary army is the strongest opposing force. If the revolutionary army leader Drago leads his army to surrender world government, that would be a major blow to the world revolution. The rule of the world government will be more stable. Such a method is worthy of the world government that I know. But what are you going to do now? Drago, surrender for his own son. Or for your own dreams. At this moment, even Whitebeard couldn't help but wonder about the choice in that man's heart at this moment. Looks like you're going to lose. Kong said slowly. Hehe, it's hard to say now. Whitebeard smiled. On the execution stand, my duo's eyes were fixed on Drago on the ground. Asked, make your choice, Drago. Is it surrender? Still fighting, looking at everything on the execution platform in silence, looking at the son who has not been cared for by him since he was born, Drago's heart moved slightly. But thinking of the comrades behind him and being brutally oppressed by the world government, Drago's heart was tangled again. Qian Zhao's. However, with a decisive personality, he did not hesitate for too long, and quickly made his choice. Quote. Just when Drago was about to say his answer, a mutation protruded in the sky. A huge black shadow suddenly fell from the sky and smashed heavily on the sea area. A small storm was aroused. And after it stabilized, a figure appeared on the bow. Yo, looks like I'm here just in time. This person. It is Lu Obai. Yo, why didn't you talk, did you? You were too scared to speak when you saw me. That's right, the boat that suddenly fell from the sky at this moment was Lu Obai's boat. I saw him standing on the bow of the boat, followed by several peerless beauties. Robin, Nami, Bonnie. Several women have different identities and occupations, but they all appear behind Lu Obai at the same time. And when he saw that all the people on the battlefield looked at him in shock, Lu Obai smiled. Afterwards, everyone saw his figure flashed violently and disappeared on the bow in an instant. Turned into a blue lightning bolt. At this moment, my duo hadn't reacted, and he felt a strong breath rushing towards him. A fist suddenly appeared in front of him, and he hurriedly stretched out his hands to block, but the next moment, an electric light penetrated chest. And the two people around him didn't even have time to dodge, they were swallowed by lightning. And Sengoku on the side also frowned. He felt a fist hit his chest, blood gushed out violently, and at the same time, his body flew down from the execution platform at a very high speed. Boom! It fell heavily to the ground. Silence. Deathly silence. All the people, not even the people watching the live broadcast, had no idea that Lu Obai, who suddenly fell from the sky, was able to appear on the execution platform in a short moment, on the sea surface a few hundred meters away from the execution platform. And directly, CHCE instantly killed my duo who just appeared and seemed to be strong and the CPOO men behind him. Shot back Sengoku. Such power is terrifying. On the execution stand, lightning flashed. Lu Obai's figure appeared. Powder fruit. It looks pretty good. Lu Obai secretly thought in his heart that in the fight with my duo just now, he had already directly copied the opponent's fruit ability. The powdered fruit, Paramesha, turns everything it touches into powder. But that doesn't include living things. But looking at the ability that my duo just showed, it must have been the fruit of awakening. Lu Obai, are you still here? Why invade Impel down? What is the purpose of your presence here? Sengoku below stood up, looked at Lu Obai's figure and shouted angrily. Blackbeard Teach also had a hideous face. Seeing Lu Obai, he also thought of the terrifying strength and pain when he fought against him last time. Don't worry, before asking me, I'll show you some old friends. Lu Obai smiled hey, followed by the shocked eyes of everyone. Several figures appeared on the battlefield from everywhere. Descendants of the Devil, Douglas Bullet. The King of Evil, Abaro Pizarro. Giant Battleship, San Juan. Evil Wolf, Capone, Beige, Trafalgar, Law, and the former Impel Down Wardens, Shiryu of the Rain. Almost every character is enough to shake the world. But now they have all appeared on the battlefield. And it's pretty obvious. These people have already surrendered to Lu Obai. What did you do to Magellan? Sengoku's eyes widened and he said loudly. Oh, you said him, who knows? Lu Obai still had that faint smile on his face. Asshole, it seems that this time is the right time to see such interesting things. Seeing Lu Obai's figure, Doflamingo laughed. His body was already trembling with excitement, and the 10 fingers of both hands were swaying. This is simply the case. So funny. Lu Obai. Empress Hancock saw the dignified figure, and her eyes suddenly glowed with golden light. The Marine Vice Admiral Guillaume next to him looked extremely complicated. The memory goes back to what happened when Lu Obai was kidnapped by Lu Obai. Immediately, his face turned red. Is he the one who put Ace Luffy and Rayleigh in jail? The red-haired Shanks looked cold. Although he had never seen Lu Obai, he had heard of it. It was because this man sent the 3 people to marine prison that this war was brought about. Had it not been for his actions, this war would have been avoided, and Rayleigh would not have died on the spot. It's all the culprit, but at the moment there is still a question, lingering in his heart, or in the hearts of everyone present. What is the reason why Lu Obai is leading this war over there? Why is he here? What is his purpose? You fool, give me back Nami. Seeing Lu Obai appearing, Lu Fei immediately shouted. He will never forget that it was because of the man in front of him that he took away his comrade Nami. And because of him, that old man will die here. Ace also stared blankly at the man in front of him, and couldn't help but feel a little fear in his heart. Lu Obai's terrifying power has long been deeply imprinted in his heart. It even made him dare not even have the slightest idea of revenge against Lu Obai. Oh, you said that your companion is so beautiful, and now he is my woman. Lu Obai laughed softly. You lie, how could Nami be like that? Oh, yes, then you look at who is on that boat in the distance. Hearing Lu Obai's words, Luffy looked suspiciously at the boat that had just fallen from the sky in the distance, but when he saw the familiar figure on the bow, he was stunned. Nami, how is that possible? Is he going to abandon us? Abandoned, you're using the word incorrectly. He is my woman now, and it is only natural for him to take refuge in me, and he is just a companion to you, which is optional. Lu Obai said with a smile. When he saw the dullness and pain on Luffy's face, he felt dark in his heart. Murder and kill. This is so exciting, I love it. Oh, forget it, it's more important to do business. Lu Obai gave birth to a lazy waste, and then he glanced at the entire battlefield below from the rostrum. At this moment, the battlefield was full of blood, and the stump was broken. Although it was caused by himself, Lu Obai did not feel any guilt. In this world where the strong eat the weak, life and death are just a moment. You are the strong one, and the rules are up to you. What's more, whether it's the Marines or the pirates, everyone's hands have been stained with the blood of innocents. If this is the case, then why feel guilty for them? Thinking of this, he smiled slightly. He spoke softly. Allow me to introduce to you or the world again, my name is Obai. It was the man who sent the three of Luffy Ace Rayleigh to marine prison with his own hands, and also the man who stopped this war. This war is my game. However, seeing so many people die, my heart is also very painful. So, I've decided this game, I'm neutral, and I won't help one side. After I finish speaking, you continue. After speaking, Obai sat down on the execution platform and looked at the entire battlefield with playful eyes. The eyes of everyone on the battlefield were dull. Apparently they didn't think about it. In this turmoil that swept the top forces of the two camps, the original sound was only because Obai wanted to play the game. You fool, what do you take human life for? Marco's face was hideous, the blue flames instantly wrapped his body, and the whole person charged directly towards Obai. He wants to let this guy play tricks on the world. Pay the price. Seeing Marco rushing towards him, Obai didn't mean to dodge at all, and just sat there indifferently. The blue body swept across the air quickly, and immediately rushed to Obai's body, but in the next moment, Obai's figure disappeared in a flash. Marco was stunned for a moment, and then he felt Obai's body appearing above his right. His left hand hockey condensed, firmly grasped Mark's face, and then slammed it down. Boom. 870. The explosion rose, and Marco was instantly smashed into the corner of the execution stand. He spat out a mouthful of blood, and at the same time felt the power from his left hand. Obai smiled. Because the moment he came into contact with Marco, he had already copied the man's ability directly. Phoenix fruit. Sounds like a really good thing. He lifted Marco up and threw him off the execution platform just like throwing garbage. Drago moved his right hand, and the wind in the air turned into a pair of invisible hands that gently placed Marco on the ground. The wind and wind fruit looks quite exciting. But now is not the time to rush. The climax has yet to come. It seems that this guy's strength is unfathomable. Garp's heart sank. Facing Obai, even the well-informed him felt a burst of pressure on his body. That young man is so weird and ruthless, no one knows what kind of things he will do. It seems that a dangerous guy has appeared in this world. What are you going to do? Whitebeard said in a low voice. Kong and Akainu on the side were also silent. What is the purpose of this Obai's appearance? Is it really just for the game, he said. But how is this possible? This massive war was personally led. This man, definitely not an easy guy. And, he also made it clear that he did not belong to either side. That is to say, whether it is Marine or a pirate, it is possible to become his enemy or friend. Both sides of the war had suffered heavy losses. If a new force suddenly appears, I am afraid it is not a good thing for both sides. Obai, how about we join forces? After this is done, we will divide the world. Just as Obai was observing the entire battlefield, a rough voice suddenly appeared in everyone's eyes. It was the Blackbeard Teach. I saw black smoke coming out of his right hand, and his eyes were full of hideous colors. Although he is not sure why Obai wants to lead this war, he is sure that this war will definitely bring great benefits to Obai. Originally, I just wanted to pick up the leaks, but I didn't think that this man was the one who wanted to pick up the leaks the most. As the saying goes, the grass fell against the wind. Everyone present could see that Obai was definitely a strong team. If it falls to which side, there will be absolute odds of winning. But everyone has their own dignity, and they will never want to bow their heads to the man who led the war and pray for his help. And Blackbeard Teach has always required no shame. As long as that side is stronger, he will obey which side. After all, in this world, only by living can you be qualified to talk about dignity. Oh, do you want to join forces with me? Obai looked at Blackbeard with great interest. Knowing all the plot, he naturally knows what kind of person Blackbeard Teach is, but he doesn't care, because all the tricks are worthless in front of strength. Rather than coincidentally, my own strength is just strong enough. If you want to join forces with me, you need strength. Ha, absolutely enough. Years. Blackbeard laughed and his face was full of hideousness. Although Obai suspected him, he didn't have any dissatisfaction in his heart. After all, strength is everything in this world. Ignoring Blackbeard, Obai looked at everyone on the field. The corners of his mouth raised a slight arc. Oh, What's the matter? Could it be my appearance? Don't you want to fight? That's no fun. Lu Obai pretended to sigh. Hey, enough is enough. On the silent battlefield, a voice cut through the entire sky. It caught everyone's attention in an instant. Even Lu Obai was stunned for a moment, and turned his gaze to the person who said that. He has long pink hair, a cruciform scar above his right eye, and wears a standard marine blue jacket with a handkerchief around his head. Naval Headquarters Sao Chong, Kirby. At this moment, K-Bai was in tears, his eyes were full of grief and he looked at Lu Obai on the execution platform angrily. Why plan all this horror? Why carry out this extremely cruel war? Do you know how many people you killed alone? Xiao Wang roared loudly, his voice resounding throughout the battlefield. That kid. Garp looked at Kirby in amazement. In his mind, this kid was an extremely timid and cowardly person. But I didn't expect it to be on this battlefield where there are so many powerful players. He could actually make such a sound. Looking at Kirby crying below, Lu Obai smiled slightly. In the original, if he remembered correctly, as the war drew to a close, the boy resisted a kainu for a few seconds full of courage. Unexpectedly, the villain of this plot actually deduces himself, which is really interesting. What did I just say? Kirby, who finally realized what he had said, stood there dumbfounded. I feel that everyone around me is focused on me. His body trembled violently. And what Gene Kirby didn't expect the most was, in his eyes, Lu Obai, who was on the travel platform like a demon, was also looking at him at the moment, and responded. Hey, boy, you said just now that I wasted lives, didn't you? Lu Obai's words were full of contempt or ridicule. Laugh at him for being an overachiever. Seeing this, Kebi's original fear was once again burned with anger. He mustered the courage to speak out again. Isn't it? It's because you planned this war. So many people died. You devil, don't waste people's lives. You know that every soldier here has a family waiting for them to go back. Sengoku looked at Kebi, and silently kept him in his heart. This kid is really nice. Although it can be felt that Kebi's strength is extremely weak. But to face the brutal Lu Obai in such a cruel battlefield, he still had the courage to speak up. Itself already needs enough courage. That's right, you're just a devil. Yes, Kirby said it well. I don't know when Kebi's words infected the people around. Marine soldiers all applauded. At the same time, the people watching the live broadcast of the world were stunned for a moment, and then they began to agree. Yes, that man is a fool. The world wouldn't be like this if it wasn't for him. He really, a devil. Bah, even if you are strong, so what? After all, someone will definitely rule you. The crowd watched Lu Obai on the live broadcast, as if seeing the devil descending into the world, their eyes were full of anger. You call me a devil. But in my opinion, I'm probably not as bad as your naval headquarters. You fool, what are you talking about? Kebi said angrily. He could not tolerate his beliefs being slandered like this, even if he was 100 times stronger than himself. How dare you slander our marine like this? Even if I die today, I will fight him hard. Don't slander naval headquarters like that. Like Kirby, the marine warriors around them are filled with righteous indignation. The reason why they joined Marine is because they want to protect the smiles of ordinary people and protect justice. Lu Obai slandered Marine, which is really unbearable for them. Marine subordinates are like this, not to mention the superiors. The Marine vice admirals all had murderous expressions on their faces, eager to tear Lu Obai into pieces. Really, since you don't believe it, then I'll tell you in detail about the evil done by Marine or maybe naval headquarters. Lu Obai's eyes turned to Sengoku, who was gloomy at the moment, and Kong, who was standing beside him. If I remember correctly, it was Sengoku, the Buddha of the Marine Admiral at the time, who authorized a buster call 20 years ago. And the goal should be. The island of Ohara, the famous archaeological site of the West Blue, was slaughtered the whole island, right? Lu Obai's eyes were cold, but what he said made both Sengoku and Akainu's faces startled, and even Qingzi's face showed cold sweat. How did this kid know? What the hell are you talking about? How could Marine do this? Kirby roared, but some of the Marine vice admirals who were still helping just now fell silent. Oh, don't you believe it? I still have a physical evidence here. As soon as he finished speaking, his body fell beside Lu Obai. When seeing this person, Akainu's aura exploded instantly, and his eyes were full of anger. It's actually her. O'Hara's surviving remnants. Nico Robin. Marine Vice Admiral, Ghost Spider, Flying Squirrel and others showed anger on their faces. Sengoku's face showed horror, and then he realized something, and quickly yelled at the people next to him. Close the live stream now. There are some things that the world must not know, otherwise the consequences will be disastrous. The Marine warrior who mastered the video phone bug, although he didn't know what was going on. But the duty of obeying orders has long been ingrained in the bone marrow. He immediately wanted to turn off the phone bug, but the next moment, a figure appeared behind him. Before the Marine could react, he felt the phone bug in his hand disappear instantly. And above the naval headquarters castle in the distance, a phantom appeared. In his hand he was holding the phone bug that was broadcasting live in the world. The man is wearing a hat. The eyes under the hat are extremely hazy. Trafalgar Row. It was he who used his op fruit ability just now. Changed his phone from. The moment he came out of the propulsion layer, Trafal Qian Zhao's Garo understood. Lu Obai does not need waste, and this time it is he who will prove his worth. This kid. Sengoku's lungs exploded when he saw this scene. He was usually calm and wise and couldn't control his emotions at this moment. Everyone could see that the famous Marine had been broken. Even the ground beneath his feet instantly crumbled into powder. Don't be angry, I haven't finished my words yet. Looking at Luo's actions, Luo Bai smiled. Yes, he just needs such a subordinate who can understand his own mind. Obviously this kid is qualified. He looked at everyone again, and stretched out his hand to embrace Robin beside him. Nico Robin, the only survivor of the O'Hara incident, 20 years ago, Naval Headquarters chose to launch a buster call to bury the truth, massacred all the innocent civilians on the island. Marshal Sengoku, Marine 3 Admiral, you are the commander-in-chief of this operation. The atmosphere solidified. Everyone was stunned. The Marine soldiers all looked at the famous Marshal, and the highest combat power of their heart, Marine 3 Admiral. How eager they are. These 4 men can come out to explain this, everything is just Luo Bai's rumors or slander. But when they saw the gloomy face of Marshal Sengoku, all the Marine soldiers felt like they were in the bottom of the valley. Deeper and deeper. But it's not over yet. Luo Bai looked at Doflamingo. Doflamingo, stripped of his celestial dragon's status due to his father's incompetence, later took the Dressrosa throne. Doflamingo was stunned for a moment, and the eyes behind the sunglasses became gloomy. The biggest secret in his heart was revealed, the blue veins on his cheeks were exposed, and Kakuzu's mouth could not help but tremble slightly. Called the king of the underworld, engaged in countless sinful transactions, I think all of these are all supported by Naval Headquarters by default. Oh, by the way, I forgot to say, the 7 warlords of the sea under Naval Headquarters should be pirates themselves. The Naval Headquarters prides itself on being righteous, but indulges its 7 warlords of the sea, burning and looting everywhere. Protect ordinary people, stop joking. Why are the celestial dragons at the top of the world, and the power behind this to maintain their rule, do you really not know? Luo Bai looked at Sengoku and Kong with cold eyes. Obviously it's just to safeguard the interests of celestial dragons, but to play the banner of justice. What's the difference between them and pirates? Or maybe the only difference is that the pirates are the big ones, and these people are hypocritical. If Naval Headquarters is really to protect ordinary people, with their powerful strength, the era of the great pirates would not be possible at all. 7 warlords of the sea. 4 emperors. Don't be kidding, how can a mere sea emperor compete with the Naval Headquarters, which has the world's top scientists and countless scientific and technological forces? In the final analysis it's just Naval Headquarters for balancing power, or rather. Let these people exist just to make an excuse. An excuse to maintain power all year round, an excuse to rule the world. Hearing Luo Bai's words, Dorig's eyes narrowed. I didn't expect that I would be able to hear this truth from a vicious person. Really underestimated him. At this moment, the Marine soldiers all felt that their hearts seemed to be shattered by something. What is the situation? Could the Naval Headquarters I believe in actually be able to do such a thing? Is this still the justice that you are longing for? Many Marines fell to their knees, covering their faces and crying. There are also many people whispering in a low voice. So, is the justice that I so eagerly yearn for like this? What the hell am I doing? This Marine, it's not right. You, stop talking nonsense. Garp was furious. He understood that, for a Marine, faith was of great importance and could not be desecrated. Once defeated, it is as if the soul has been evacuated. And the other side, it seems that you have done a lot of evil too. Whitebeard opened his mouth to speak, and stood aside. He wanted to refute, operator but could not refute. I'm looking forward to this kid being able to say something more, something. Drago said to Mark, with a little joy in his eyes. To announce the evil deeds of naval headquarters in front of the whole world, it is undoubtedly a god assist for the GM army. So many people will want to rise up against it. Shut up. Kong suddenly shouted, and the hockey all over his body instantly swept the entire battlefield. Everyone felt a strong pressure. There were even cracks in the building. The sky and the earth changed color, and the sea began to surging. Conquerors. This is the top conquerors. Whitebeard looked at Kong slightly surprised. He could feel the opponent's real rage at this moment. I didn't feel that way when I played against him just now. It seems that what the kid said really broke the defense of the commander-in-chief of the 3 armed forces. Kong began to realize that if he continued to let this kid talk about the dark side of naval headquarters. So I am afraid that this war, whether it is won or lost, will have a huge impact on naval headquarters. The powerful conquerors condensed in the air, forming an invisible pressure surging towards Obai. On the other hand, Obai remained calm, just standing there quietly. The invisible conquerors rushed in front of him, as if resisted by something. Wave. A clear sonic boom rang in everyone's ears. Kong was stunned. Garp was stunned. Whitebeard was also stunned. Even on the battlefield, almost all the powerhouses were stunned. Because they could clearly see that Obai was still standing there intact, with that faint smile on his face, as if nothing happened just now. You must know that Kong is the commander-in-chief of the 3 armies. Its strength is even stronger than that of Sengoku, Garp and others. But since it didn't hurt him in the slightest, what kind of monster is this man? Don't worry, there are still many things to do. Obai looked at Kong with a smile on the corner of his mouth. And he was even more excited when he saw the collapse of the beliefs of the Marine soldiers below. He just wanted to make this group of Marines who didn't see the world understand it. No organization in this world is perfect. Destroy the beliefs of others with your own hands. This is so cool. It's a pity that a descendant of a dignified heavenly dragon actually did business in the underground world. No wonder your family was expelled from celestial dragons and became the laughing stock of a generation. Obai suddenly looked at Doflamingo and said softly. His eyes were full of contempt and disdain. This guy has been unhappy for a long time, and he is like a non-mainstream every day. And his words were like a sharp sword, piercing the deepest part of Doflamingo's heart directly. Kill you. Doflamingo's body floated down slightly, hockey emanated from his body, and his fingers were twitching rapidly. The eyes behind the sunglasses were full of anger. Kill you. Boom. With a loud explosion, Doflamingo's body was like a rocket, and one party flew out directly from the ground, and the ground beneath his feet instantly listed countless cracks. He stepped on the invisible transparent silk thread in midair with his feet, his right hand stretched into claws, and each finger was connected to a thin thread. Seeing such a situation, the crew behind Obai was about to move, but they saw Obai stretched out his left hand to stop him. In just a few seconds, Obai was rushed in front of him. Obviously, in the battle just now, he had hidden most of his strength. Chapter 91. Seeing Doflamingo's appearance, Obai's eyes flashed with murderous intent. Good come. In this case, I will accept the string fruit. Just when Doflamingo's hand was about to touch Obai tilted his head slightly, and then his right hand clenched into a fist and hit Doflamingo's abdomen fiercely. He slammed his whole body into the air. PFF'd. Doflamingo's sunglasses cracked one after another in midair, and blood spurted out of the 873 in his mouth. The next moment, Obai rushed in front of him in midair, and grabbed Doflamingo's arms tightly with both hands. A cruel smile appeared on the corner of his mouth. Don't you like using your claws? After he finished speaking, Obai's hands slammed violently, and infinite power erupted from his palms, and he pulled back fiercely. Crack. Under everyone's horrified eyes, Doflamingo's arms were directly pulled off by Obai. Blood spurted out from the wound, and you could even see the white bones. Obai's attack didn't stop. His right foot slammed down and directly hit Doflamingo's face, smashing the sunglasses, and then with this recoil, he turned a somersault in midair. He landed firmly on the execution platform. Jia's two arms were thrown from the execution platform like garbage. Obai looked at the falling Doflamingo not far away with contempt, and said disdainfully, 7 warlords of the sea, that's all. What a waste. Pump. Until Doflamingo's injured body fell heavily on the ground, blood slowly flowed out from the wounds on both arms. At this moment, the rest of the people reacted and all looked at Obai in horror. What just happened? This man actually seriously injured a 7 warlords of the sea. This strength is too terrifying. Young Master. Dressrosa. Seeing this scene, everyone in the Doflamingo pirates screamed. Their young master, such a powerful young master, was actually killed by Obai. They just can't take it. My god, what kind of power is this? It can kill a Shichibukai in 1 second. So scary. What kind of characters have appeared in this world? The people watching the live broadcast also exclaimed, because in the eyes of these people, 7 warlords of the sea, it represents the world's top strength, but they did not expect it. Such a powerful character was easily killed by Obai. Ouch, it's horrible. Kizaru still spoke in his nonchalant voice. But in his heart, Obai has long been regarded as the enemy of life and death. This man is stronger than before. Sengoku's face was gloomy, and he had begun to regret in his heart, why didn't he gather all his strength to eliminate this dangerous man? Now it seems, compared to Ace and Luffy, he is the most dangerous character. Seeing this scene, Whitebeard's face became solemn. He has been out at sea for so long and has seen countless ruthless pirates, but Obai is the one that impressed him the most. Vicious and powerful, in time, he will surely stand at the top of the world. Ace, what kind of characters have you provoked? At this moment, Ace on the execution platform has opened his mouth wide, showing cold sweat. Is this guy that strong? Luffy was furious. I really want to beat this hateful man in front of me. That's tough, my ally. Blackbeard laughed, but at the same time a cold sweat broke out in his heart. This man, absolutely cannot oppose him. Seeing that almost everyone was shocked by him, Obai couldn't stop sneering. Is this shocking? It's not over yet. Okay, I'm done with the evil of naval headquarters, so it's time to GM Army. Obai's fingers turned slightly, and then pointed to Drago, the leader of the GM Army. Dorag was stunned for a moment, and even the GM Army under his command was stunned. They didn't even think about it. After Obai finished talking about the evil deeds of naval headquarters, he turned his attention to the GM Army. What nonsense are you kidding? Naval headquarters is so sinful, that's why our GM Army has to unite to defeat it. Where is our evil? Sabo shouted angrily. Like the Marines, he would never allow anyone to easily desecrate his dreams. He feared that he would collapse in faith like the Marines. No, it's not possible. Oh, my words are indeed a bit ambiguous. The GM Army is indeed not evil, but the biggest evil of the GM Army is the two of you. Obai pointed to Dorag, Sabo. GM Army Leader Dorag, Chief of Staff Sabo, you keep saying that it is for the world GM, then I want to ask you why you appear on this battlefield. Is it not because of your relatives, Luffy? You fool, Luffy yelled. Ignoring his shouting, Obai looked at Sabo, who was slightly pale, and continued to speak. What is the GM in your mouth, or is it just to overthrow naval headquarters? Then your task at this moment should be to continue to dormant. But you are stupid enough to lead senior cadres to participate in this war for the sake of your relatives. Isn't this because of my own selfishness? If all the senior cadres of the GM Army died in this war, what would the GM Army do? Let the world GM's lights go out for the sake of your loved ones, is that what you believe in? I would like to ask, what do you, Dorag, you, Sabo, explain about this? Obai's eyes were bright. At the moment, the senior cadres of the GM Army were also stunned. The GM troops who were present before all had such doubts, but they didn't show it. But at this moment, when Obai said it, all the doubts hidden in their hearts were seduced again. Yes, what role did they play in this war? In this war, it is clear that it has nothing to do with the GM army. They can wait for the naval headquarters and the pirates to kill each other and exhaust their strength. And they can take the opportunity to expand their territory, so they can sit on the mountain and watch tigers fight, killing two birds with one stone. Wouldn't that be better? Drago forcibly led them to participate in the war. What is the purpose? Quote. Dorag and Sabo wanted to speak, but couldn't say anything, because they couldn't think of any explanation to explain their purpose to the senior cadres of the GM army. This guy is so powerful, to be able to refute the two major organizations at the same time, this is too powerful. Yeah, after what he said, I suddenly thought what was the significance of the GM army participating in this war. It's incredible, I actually feel that there is nothing beautiful in this world, God. Didn't expect naval headquarters and GM army to look like this. This is too scary. The people watching the live broadcast exclaimed. Many people's beliefs have completely collapsed. All over the world, even more have committed suicide. Murder and punish your heart, murder and punish your heart. What nonsense are you? Ace, who was beside him, looked at his good brother's broken face, and couldn't help but get angry. In his opinion, Obai is just rhetoric. Snapped. A slap slapped Ace's face fiercely, and Ace was stunned, and even the people off the court were stunned. Shut up. There's no reason for you to speak here. If it weren't for you, how could your father have gone through such a dangerous situation? You. Ace was furious, even Luffy glared at him, but Obai had already covered his mouth with his clothes. Seeing Ace's angry look, Obai sneered. Why don't you believe it? If so, let me tell you. Obai snorted coldly. He knew the original book very well. Naturally, he despised a brainless character like Ace very much. If it weren't for your stubborn disobedience to Whitebeard's words, how could you possibly be defeated by Blackbeard? How could you possibly be sent to the underwater prison by me? In the end, it's all because of your stupidity and brainlessness. I don't know. If you don't listen to your elders, you still want to be an adult. What I despise the most is an idiot like you. The Whitebeard pirates, the strongest pirate group in the world, is in this situation because of a fool like you. Look at what price your father paid to save you. As for you, you still don't know how to dormant. Now life and death are in my hands, and if I'm in a bad mood, I'll cut you off. The sacrifice of the Whitebeard pirates so far is not a waste. Idiot. Obai's face was scolded. You must know that when he watched the original book, he was directly crying because of Ace's brainlessness. How many people did the Whitebeard pirates sacrifice to save him? They were almost successful, but what happened? Just because of Akainu's words, he directly failed the sacrifice of all the Whitebeard pirates, and even failed his father Whitebeard. Therefore, in Obai's view, Ace's behavior is not called valuing love and righteousness at all, but a fool. A proper big fool. Can't you just run away temporarily? Wouldn't it be nice to avenge his father in the future? It was because of his stupidity that Whitebeard died in battle, and the pirates became second-rate characters. The original Obai was still thinking, if he can travel to the world of One Piece, he must give Ace a big mouth. Ace faltered and was speechless, and his mind was already dazed by Obai's words. I recalled what I had done before, and my stubborn departure. I'm afraid it has already caused great trouble to my father. Yes, the source of all this is your own fault. Tears rolled down Ace's eyes, and his head fell to his knees, crying bitterly. It is not only lamenting his own stupidity, but also ashamed of his father's help. On the battlefield, listening to Obai's words, watching Ace's tears, everyone in the Bai Qian Jiaohao Beard Pirates was full of anger. How can you possibly understand the feelings between our families? It's all voluntary. Diamond Yojo was furious. Yeah, Ace, don't listen to this kid's nonsense. Yes, all of this is voluntary and has nothing to do with you. You are our family. You actually sow discord between us. This kid has bad intentions. Ace, don't listen to him. The encouragement from the members of the Whitebeard pirates below did not make Ace feel better, but felt even more guilty in his heart. He failed so many family members who truly loved him. It's all his fault. My son, don't feel guilty, because that's what the Whitebeard pirates do. I want the world to know who dares to provoke our Whitebeard pirates, and we will never let him go. In the distance, Whitebeard saw Ace crying bitterly and said loudly. Ace was as if she hadn't heard anything, and tears were still streaming down her face. Looking at Whitebeard's appearance, Obai did not continue to speak. Because the man in front of him was who really regarded his crew as his own sons. And also used his influence to protect many islands. So in the whole One Piece world, Obai doesn't have much ill will towards Whitebeard. Well, maybe it's just not feeling bad. If Whitebeard is really weak, he also doesn't mind attacking the number one and strongest man in the world. Okay, so much has been said, now it's time to get down to business. Actually, I'm very curious, if Marine and pirates unite, what kind of spectacle will it be? Obai showed a faint smile. Hearing this, Whitebeard, Red Hair, Garp, Shao Kahn and others all frowned. I don't understand what Obai is trying to say. But the next moment their questions were answered. I want to see how powerful the world's top camps will be when united. Or can you beat a small character like me? After speaking, Obai stood up from the podium, looking down at the entire battlefield like a god. Then the corners of his mouth moved slightly and he said softly, "Let's unite, let me see how strong the alliance of these 5 forces is: Naval Headquarters, Whitebeard Pirates, Red Hair Pirates, Roger Pirates Remnants, and GM Army. As for why you want to join the alliance, of course it's because today, my pirates declare war on you." The whole place was dead silent. The breath seemed to freeze at this moment. Everyone, including Whitebeard Garp, almost thought they heard it wrong because they heard it. Obai's pirates declare war on them. Does this kid understand? Arrogant, incomparably arrogant. Oh my gosh, this is too handsome, this guy. I'm going to challenge the 5 major forces, this is too powerful. What kind of strength does this man have? Actually, is such a head iron. Not only everyone on the battlefield was shocked. Even the people of the world who were watching the live broadcast all the time were shocked with their jaws dropped. What did they just hear? There are pirates in the world who dared to challenge the Whitebeard Pirates, Marine Division and other major forces alone. You must know that there are 2 Four Emperors, the 2 largest forces in the world. Such arrogant words, even the former Roger Pirates would not dare to say it. This man is crazy, Marine Vice Admiral Guion whispered. And the extras on her side were also stupid on the spot. But the next moment he burst out laughing, didn't expect this to be the man Suzuki-yuan liked. He was actually a fool. Challenge the 5 forces, what a stupid man to think of this operation. Is this our captain? As expected of a man I identify with. On the naval headquarters building behind Obai. Douglas Bullet's eyes lit up, staring excitedly at the man on the platform. This guy is even more shocking than Roger. On the other side, Luo, Shiryu of the Rain, Capone Beige and others were full of disbelief. Although he knew that his captain was a little arrogant, he never thought that he could be so arrogant. He actually wanted to challenge the 5 major forces. Are you crazy, kid? You have to challenge so many forces at the same time. You idiot. Blackbeard yelled. Originally he thought it would be a wise move to join forces with Obai, but he didn't expect this guy to challenge Marine and Pirate directly at the same time. Isn't he pushing himself into the fire pit? At that moment, Blackbeard regretted that he was jumping too fast, and he should have observed more. Oh, if you feel uncomfortable, you can jump back again, I won't mind. Hearing Blackbeard's words, Obai's expression was calm, and the corner of his mouth raised a slight arc. If I can survive this time, I will definitely not let you go. Up to now, Blackbeard can only accept it helplessly. After all, he jumped back so many times at this moment, no matter what force can no longer accept him, so it can only maintain the status quo. I hope this kid isn't talking big. Looking at Blackbeard's helpless expression, Obai sneered in his heart. He certainly knew that Blackbeard and his alliance had no good intentions, but it doesn't matter, after all, he is much stronger than him. One more thing, you women don't have to participate in this war. Obai looked at the many women on the boat behind him and said with a very strong tone. As a man, how can he let his woman accompany him in the charge? What's more, Obai also knew. On this battlefield, the strength of those women is too weak. Ha ha ha, as expected of the captain I fancy, he is indeed arrogant, yes, I like it. If I can survive today, I, Douglas Bullet, will entrust my life to you. Bullet's fists collided together, and the fighting spirit surged in his eyes. Obviously, in his eyes, only fighting endlessly and fighting can satisfy his desires. Sengoku Garp, let me test your strength. If you go backwards, you will be killed by me. Lonely Red Redfield, showing an evil and charming smile. More than 20 years ago, he was on an equal footing with Whitebeard Garp Sengoku and others, and he was extremely powerful. If the strength of this group of old guys has regressed now, then I will not be polite. It seems that the test of Impel Down is not over yet. Luo said. However, there was no trace of fear on his face. He knew it from the moment he set foot on Luo Bai's boat. The captain in front of him is a lunatic, a complete lunatic. Licked his lips, Luo's eyes showed ferocity. Katakana middle dot flowers. Crazy. Then why not yourself? Sure enough, he's a crazy man, but that's why I like him. Robin stroked the book in his hand and looked at Luo Bai's back with love in his eyes. And the few women on the other side were not afraid at all. In their hearts, their lives have long been bound together with Luo Bai. If Luo Bai died in this war, then they would have no meaning to live. Looks like we can continue to kill again. Marine, red hair pirates, Whitebeard pirates, they are good opponents. Yu Ziliu pulled out a long knife from his waist, stuck out his tongue and licked the corner of his mouth. Ah, I don't know if I can survive, I'm really looking forward to it. The evil King Abaro Pizarro laughed. Fighting again, hiccup. Beryl Basque Choate took a gulp. Sad, scared, said the giant battleship San Juan Wolf hiding behind naval headquarters. Capone Beige pulled out 2 pistols and exhaled the cigarette in a single puff. It's boring to kill someone. Beside him, Basil Hawkins drew out a card in his hand and murmured. The probability of surviving this time is 0%. Hey, are you being too arrogant? A rough voice resounded on the battlefield, and I saw a man wearing a Marine Justice cloak walking slowly on the battlefield. And he was Marine Admiral Akainu. His eyes were fixed on the man on the execution platform, and his eyes were full of murderous intent. How dare a pirate come to me? After all, you are all evil incarnations, and Marine is absolutely righteous. Alliance. Joke. Naval headquarters never needed to be in alliance. What we need is absolute justice. If you don't kill all of you today, it will be a disgrace to the entire Marine. All Marines, if you want to achieve justice, follow me. Without me there will be no rebirth of evil. Akainu's hands turned into lava, and at the same time the haki on his body slowly radiated out. His resolute face was full of determination. From childhood to adulthood, he has pursued the philosophy of life. Destroy all evil. He is willing to pay any price for this. Upon hearing Akainu's words, Marine soldiers looked at each other in dismay, and it seemed that an invisible force was aroused in their hearts. Kill all the pirates. For justice. How can I be deceived by the words of the pirates? I am guilty, these abominable pirates. The Marine soldiers were instantly excited, and even the soldiers who had thrown down their knives were extremely ashamed when they were doing it, and immediately picked up the knives, their faces full of fighting spirit. As expected of you, Akainu. Looking at the scene in front of him, Luo Bai smiled slightly, as expected of the Akainu he knew. This guy has a strong personality and hates evil. If it wasn't for the absolute hostility between the two, Luo Bai would even want to recruit Akainu. And he had to admit that this guy was definitely the best marshal to lead Marine. Gu la 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 la, little ones, don't forget what our purpose is this time. Take back Ace. Whitebeard in the distance also seemed to have eased a lot. He raised the big knife in his hand and ordered the entire Whitebeard pirate group. Dad. The members of the Whitebeard pirates immediately boiled over. Leader, we, the senior cadres of the Revolutionary Army looked at Drago. Although they were praised by Luo Bai before, but after so many years of getting along, they still believed in the leader from their bodies. Save Ace. Yes. Oh, boss, it seems that the plan failed, and this group of people regained their fighting spirit in an instant. Lonely Red Barlow Clydefield laughed. Luo Bai just waved his hand. This is normal. After all, they are all organizations with complete structures. It is impossible for them to defect or have a mental breakdown just because of my words. My purpose is to let the world hear it. Redfield was stunned for a moment, then looked deeply at the captain. The captain's scheming is not simple. Okay, let's not talk nonsense. Luo Bai turned to look at Luo. Protect the phone bugs in your hands, now is the time to show us around the world. After speaking, Obai ignored Luo's answer and looked at the people at his feet. If you want to kill people, of course, you have to start from the most iconic organization. Thinking of this, Obai's eyes turned cold, and his body turned into a blue lightning bolt. Amidst everyone's astonished gazes, he rushed towards the battlefield. And its goal is exactly that. Roger Pirate's remnants. Wait, is that a Logia fruit? Navigator Jabba's eyes narrowed. He who had explored the world with Roger naturally recognized that Obai's ability in front of him was actually the ability of the Thunder Fruit. However, before he could ask any questions, a thunder light directly penetrated his chest. Jabba! The rest of the pirate group members shouted, and the next moment, Obai's figure appeared directly in the middle of the crowd. Since they are already old people of the old era, then don't get involved in the new world. Obai said softly, his hands turned into knives, and he directly cut off the head of the closest Murloc Samber. Blood splattered on Obai's face, but his expression was still grim, and there was a hint of blood in his eyes. You idiot! The rest of them waved their knives and were about to slash at him, but the next second, Obai raised his hand slightly. A huge thunderbolt crashed down in the sky. Obai has no interest in the remnants of the Roger Pirates. The reason why this pirate group can still enjoy such a riddle in New World is only because their former captain is the famous One Piece Roger. And once Roger dies, Rayleigh lives in seclusion, the redhead quits, and the rest of the group can't afford to be a big leader. To put it a bit harsher, the current Roger remnants are nothing more than third-rate pirates. With such a weak strength, he actually dared to appear on the battlefield where the strong were like clouds. I really don't know. Quote exclamation mark exclamation mark exclamation mark quote comma exclamation mark quote. The huge thunder shook the entire battlefield, and everyone could clearly feel that the ground seemed to be shaking. How is this guy Thunder Fruit possible? Sengoku's pupils tightened. What did he just see? Obai actually used the ability of Thunder Fruit, but according to the data, he is not a magnetic fruit. On the other side, the red-haired Shanks was also horrified. Looking at what was happening in the distance, his forehead was covered in cold sweat, because even he recognized that Obai was using Thunder Fruit. What the hell is going on here? Double Fruit ability. In the distance, the smoke dissipated. The redhead looked up, and instantly an invisible anger swarmed in his chest. I saw Obai's figure standing firmly in it, and beside him were the stumps and broken arms that had been scorched by lightning. The remnants of the Roger Pirates will be wiped out. Everyone was shocked, even Sengoku Akainu at this moment. They also did not expect that the once famous Roger Pirates would be wiped out in a short period of time today. What an incredible thing this is. That kid actually killed all the people on the Luo family pirate ship. My god, the once famous world's strongest pirate group has been killed. This guy is definitely a devil. There is no doubt that Obai's behavior was completely shocked, and no one in the world thought of it. Even the remnants of the Roger Pirates, which naval headquarters did their best to encircle and suppress. Totally wiped out today, and was killed by one person. While everyone was still in shock, a furious voice was deafening. I am going to kill you. The black and red hockey lingered around the red hair, making a crackling sound. When Garp on the side saw this scene, he couldn't help being shocked. This kid was actually able to practice hockey to such an ultimate. This black and red hockey con Qian Jiao Jiao is called the highest state of hockey. Of the people Garp knew, only Roger and Whitebeard had such power. Even he himself has been immersed in it for many years and has never realized such a state. But the redhead actually. Then, just as Garp was thinking, the red-haired right foot stomped violently, and his entire body rushed towards Obai like a cannonball flipped over. The figure crossed in the air, and there were extremely deep ravines on the ground he passed. Obai. The veins on the red-haired face were exposed, and the pupils were wide open, looking at Obai's figure. Endless anger swallowed him whole. Roger Pirates is where he has lived for more than 30 years. It can be said that in his heart, everything on the Roger Pirates, including the crew, is his family. Although the Roger Pirates were disbanded later because of the death of Captain Roger, it was still in the heart of Red Hair anyway. Everything about the Roger Pirates is his fondest memory. But now, my best memory, my family, was actually killed by Lu Obai. Even though he was calm and wise like Shisui on weekdays, he couldn't control the anger in his heart at this moment. He is going to kill Lu Obai. The black-red hockey condensed into a solid body, like a shield. Before approaching Lu Obai felt a strong pressure coming towards him. In the sky, the clouds were also instantly dissipated by such a powerful momentum. Everyone, not even the people from the Red Hair Pirates, had never seen that the famous Four Emperors pirate actually have such an angry moment. Red Hair, Garp shouted, as if trying to block him, but the next moment a red phantom appeared in front of him. Yo, isn't that Garp? It looks a lot older, dunno. Whether your strength is still the same as before, let this old man try it out. The figure appeared, and Garp's complexion sank instantly. It's you, Redfield, isn't your old man still alive? Redfield's strength. Garp couldn't be more clear, to know that he and Sengoku tried their best to capture him, but they didn't expect it. Now this guy has actually escaped from prison, and it looks like he has become Lu Obai's subordinate. It's rare that you haven't forgotten me. In that case, Garp. How about we fight again? Redfield licked the corner of his mouth with his tongue, and his eyes revealed a strong fighting intent. Red hockey wrapped around him. Come on, let the old man meet your old friend well. Garp roared, swung his iron fist and rushed towards Redfield. And now, CHCE. Facing the angry red-haired, Lu Obai did not have any fear and his expression was still extremely dull, only to see his left hand pressed on the ground. Remnant Earth Tornado. The stones on the ground were guided by a force, rushing towards the red hair like a tornado. Although he was shocked, the red-haired body reacted quickly after years of combat experience, and he immediately pulled out the long knife around his waist and slashed fiercely. The invisible sword energy condensed from the blade. Boom! Jian Qi directly smashed the rubble and rushed towards Lu Obai frantically. Lu Obai was not afraid at all, his figure flashed, and he disappeared in place in an instant. The redhead only felt a movement in his heart, and suddenly turned around and kicked his right foot next to him. Snapped. The red-haired right foot was grabbed, and then he felt a cold breath coming from his ankle. FY ##. In the shocked eyes, ice cubes condensed out at the ankle, and instantly froze his right foot. This is Marine Admiral Aoji's ability. You're distracted, aren't you? Lu Obai smiled when he saw the red-haired horrified eyes, and then the right palm slammed with force, and the ice cube shattered. The redhead's right leg was completely shattered. A sharp pain struck, and the redhead was startled. He stepped on his left foot fiercely, and the whole person left Lu Obai's body. The broken part of the right leg was firmly covered by ice cubes, and there was not a trace of blood flowing out. The red-haired face showed sweat, and he barely supported his body with the knife in his hand. The red hair at the moment, the right leg has completely disappeared, and then put on the left arm that was missing. It looks appalling. At this time, the battle here has already attracted everyone's attention on the battlefield. When they saw Lu Obai using various abilities one after another, everyone present was stunned. My god, Lu Obai actually used the abilities of Marine Admiral Qingzi. I read it right. What the hell is going on here? Isn't it that devil fruit can only eat one, but that guy seems to have possessed 3 abilities so far. Monster. Monster. This is definitely a monster. Blackbeard's pupils were also constricted. Seeing the ability Lu Obai used, he murmured. What's the matter with this guy? You must know that in this world, apart from his own ability to grab fruit, Blackbeard has never heard of anyone else being able to use the double fruit ability. My god, is this his strength? Too strong. The smoke from Capone Bedge's mouth had already fallen to the ground, and his eyes were about to pop out. Luo, who was holding the video phone bug beside him, was also shocked. How can there be a powerhouse with 3 fruit abilities in this world? And you must know that the fruit power can only be passed on to the next host after the previous host dies. But now Marine Admiral's Qingji is not dead yet. Ouch, Qingzi, is that your freezing ability? Kizaru appeared beside Qingzi and said casually. Having fought Lu Obai before, he naturally understands that the man in front of him must not be able to use common sense to try to figure him out. So at this moment Lu Obai shows how shocking things, he will not feel disobedient. Looks like a dangerous criminal has appeared in the world. Qingji said quietly. Hey, you 2 guys, don't hurry up to work. Akainu, who was furious on the side, shouted, and in front of him lay an unknown number of members of the Whitebeard pirates. He didn't have time to care about the situation on the red-haired side. For him, the siege of the Whitebeard pirates is the ultimate mission. At this time, the Whitebeard pirates, taking advantage of the chaos of the battlefield, rushed into the execution platform frantically, and they were greeted by Marine San Admiral's troops. For a while, the sound of killing on the battlefield resumed. Hey, did you forget me? A huge body descended from the sky and landed in front of Qingzi. Yo, isn't this Admiral Kuzan, who hasn't seen him for years and is stronger again? Oh, it's actually you, Bullet. The ice covered the entire right arm. Qingzi knew that this battle was inevitable. Ha ha ha, it's rare that you still know me. If that's the case, then come and fight with me. Douglas Bullet didn't say much nonsense, and his entire body rushed out directly, and he stretched out his right arm and slammed into Qingzi fiercely. In the sky at this time, the two soldiers, Marco and Dorag, rushed straight to the execution platform in two separate ways, but a beam of light hit and directly penetrated Marco's chest. But the blue flame instantly healed the wound, and Marco spread his wings and looked at the opponent in front of him coldly. Oh yo, if we let you all leave, then where will our marine's face go? Kizaru stood on a towering sail and said with a wretched expression. On the ground, Red Hair Pirate's deputy captain, the famous Emperor's deputy Ben Beckman, was clutching his chest, blood flowing from the corner of his mouth. In front of him was a man wearing a black cloak of justice with a big cigarette in his mouth. The former deputy guard of Impel Down, Shiryu of Long Reign. The long knife in his hand was dripping with blood, and it was clearly he who had hurt Beckman. I've heard Beckman is strong, but it doesn't seem that way. Shiryu said disdainfully. Oh, it looks like I've been underestimated. Beckman's eyes were cold, he held the long knife in his hand, and disappeared in place in an instant. Boa Hancock, what are you doing here? Why don't you hurry up and help fight? The Marine Vice Admiral slashed with two knives and took away a human head with one knife. However, when he saw the Empress Hancock, he stood there in a daze, staring intently at Lu Obai, who was far away from the battlefield. Hey you, don't disturb the concubine. Hancock's delicate face showed anger, and Changbai's right leg kicked the ghost spider fiercely. The ghost spider was startled, and hurriedly waved the knife, 900, to block. What are you doing? Ghost Spider shouted angrily. How can a villain like you understand the beauty of love? Concubine fell in love with Lord Lu Obai. Speaking of this, Hancock's face revealed a blush. My mind is full of Lu Obai's heroic figure just now. The more she thought about it, the more excited she felt, her heart pounding thumpingly. OMG, is this love? Did the concubine fall in love without knowing it? Hancock, you. The Marine Vice Admiral Dion on the side obviously noticed the situation here and shouted angrily. That guy is nothing but a vicious pirate. You are not allowed to defile Lord Lu Obai. Hearing this, Hancock became angry again and attacked Guion. Master Guion. The ghost spider was about to say something when he saw Guion wave his hand to him. You go and follow Akainu Admiral, leave it to me here. Yes, Sengoku, Kong, you guys are getting old after all, your fists are no longer powerful. Whitebeard's knife slashed hard on Kong's arms, making a clanging sound. And behind him, Sengoku appeared, and the golden light condensed behind him, revealing a big Buddha. The Buddha's fist slammed into Whitebeard's back, but Whitebeard just sank his right foot into the ground, then turned around suddenly, a white circle of light appeared on his left hand, and then hit the big Buddha's chest heavily. Boom! The great Buddha was repelled, and at the same time, along with the Sengoku inside, blood was spit out of his mouth. After Whitebeard eased up, he faced off alone, with Kong and Sengoku in his heart. Obviously these two were more threatening. As long as he can defeat or drag the two, he believes that the rest of the sons will be able to rescue Ace. It seems that you have an unknown ability. The hare endured the severe pain from his right leg, and his eyes were fixed on Lu Obai. The person in front of him looks only in his 20s, but his strength is already so terrifying. I am afraid that in the future it will definitely be a guy no less than the Four Emperors or the naval headquarters. It seems that above this sea, there will be a terrifying opponent. However, he has no future. The red hare raised his right knife again, his left foot stomped on the ground, and his entire body rushed into the air. The speed was so fast that even Obai could only feel an afterimage flashing across his eyes. He was startled, and hurriedly retreated, and at the moment he retreated, a cold light cut through, and even the space where he was just now was impacted, causing bursts of ripples. This guy is really moving. Obai's body sank slightly, and the lion fruit ability in both hands once again launched two giant dragons formed by rocks to charge towards the red hare, but when he was about to touch the in front of the red hare drew two sword energy instantly, smashed the dragon to pieces. Want to challenge me? You are still too tender now. In just a split second, the red hare immediately appeared in front of Obai, and the right knife in his hand slashed fiercely. PFF'd. Blood spurted out and splashed on the red-haired face, and in front of him, Obai's chest was drawn with a huge hole, and the blood flew out. Then it hit the ground heavily. Obai's figure stood up in the smoke. The wound that had just been cut by the red hare was sealed by him with the ability of frozen fruit, which prevented the blood from flowing out, but despite this, Obai's face was pale at the moment, and the bloodline infected his clothes. It seems that he still underestimates the red-haired four emperors in front of him. Since he can become one of the emperors of the sea, he is definitely a strong man. Any carelessness will become his ghost. Without too much nonsense, Obai's arms turned into blades and rushed directly to the redhead. He had already seen that Obai's redhead possessed more than fruit abilities. Although he was surprised at this moment, his body made a fight preparation. Clang 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 clang. The blades of the two met, and flashes of light were drawn in the air. On the ground, traces of sword energy were clearly visible. Even the marine soldiers who were a little closer to the two-man battle were instantly cut in half by the sword energy and died on the spot. To be able to compete with the red-haired swordsmanship, Obai's strength is so terrifying. Hawkeye, one of the 7 warlords of the sea, saw this scene and murmured in a low voice. You must know that in this world, the only person who can compete with the redhead in swordsmanship is himself, who is the world's greatest swordsman. But he didn't expect that this extremely young man could fight so hard with red hair. It was incredible. Could it be that his swordsmanship has reached the peak level? Or, it has already surpassed myself and the redhead? However, this is not the time for him to think about these things, only to see Luo's figure quietly appearing beside him. The video phone bug in his hand has been handed over to Robin, and the task of broadcasting the battlefield is handed over to her. Luo knew very well that in the future, Obai's ships would have to be sorted, and the order of sorting would also depend on the performance of this war. He doesn't want to live under people in the future. Fathralguro, I didn't expect you to become that man's subordinate, but I really didn't expect it. Luo didn't say anything nonsense, and his spatial ability was activated instantly. Room, thunder and coil. Blue lightning circled around the blades that his arms turned into, and every time he slashed, the lightning would enter his body with the stab in the red-haired hand. This guy's moves are so weird. At this time, the redhead only felt that as long as his blade collided with Obai's, there would be a slight numbness in his hand. Although it is said that because of his strong body, that paralysis will not cause any great use to others, but a small accident in the battle may kill people. A little accident happened. Amidst the constant paralysis, the red-haired right arm finally twitched violently, and the palm couldn't help but control it with a bang. The knife in the red-haired hand fell to the ground, and at this moment, 2 cold rays of light slashed into his chest. At the same time, light gathered at Obai's toes, and a beam of light penetrated the red-haired chest. A large amount of blood came out of the X-shaped chest, and the red vomited blood and poured it backwards. Obai's strength was unforgiving. His arms turned into hands, and at the same time, his feet stomped on the ground, cracking instantly, and his body rushed to the red-haired chest. Hockey gathered on the fist, and then slammed it down hard, hitting the red-haired face hard, blood bursting from the facial features. Boom! A huge pit was smashed out on the ground, and countless cracks spread out from under the two of them like spider webs. However, Obai didn't want to miss any chance. His right fist turned black again, Hockey gathered, and then he bombarded again, hitting the red-haired face hard. Let you pretend. Face fruit. Today, the Lord will scrap it. When the smoke cleared, all the people were shocked to see. The red-haired Shanks of the famous 4 emperors at sea is now beyond recognition, and has already lived up to his previous handsomeness. Blood seeped out from his chest. 4 emperors at sea with red hair, Shanks actually lost. In front of him, Obay's fists were already dripping with blood, but there was blood spurting from his red hair. Obai shook it with disgust, looking at the red hair whose facial features had been seriously deformed on the ground. I could not help but let out a sigh of anger. In the previous life, who did not know that this red-haired man has a stock that has been circulating for many years, and that is the fruit of face. According to legend, as long as this fruit is used, no matter who will give the red hair a face, even the naval headquarters or the 5 elders in the back will all be recruited. Those who don't give him face will die in the future. No less than the famous mouth escape from another anime. The lethality can be imagined. Therefore, in order to avoid this invisible buff, Obai decided to start with the strongest, first to destroy the red-haired face, so as to see how he can activate the ability of the face fruit. Captain! The crew of the red hair pirates in the distance all screamed. They were very clear about the captain's strength, but who would have thought that the captain was defeated by a young man, and it was still so tragic. Even more frightening is that this is still live broadcast all over the world. The whole world knew the redhead was beaten. My God, what kind of monster is that guy? He actually defeated the 4 emperors. Call headquarters, big news, the red hair of one of the 4 emperors at sea has been defeated. This man is too strong. The people exclaimed, and even the people on the battlefield were shocked by this situation. I didn't expect the red-haired kid to lose. Whitebeard pushed back Sengoku in front of him, looked at the situation in the distance, and said involuntarily, "That kid will definitely become a big trouble in the future, and he must not be allowed to go." Seeing this scene, Kong immediately understood. Obai's danger immediately said to Sengoku, "Okay, let's get rid of him." Sengoku's eyes are also cold. This kid has shown enough potential. If he returns to the mountains, it will definitely be a huge trouble for naval headquarters in the future. Didn't expect your naval headquarters to be afraid too. Interesting. Gu la, I'm really looking forward to that kid's development. Whitebeard laughed loudly. As the strongest man in the world, he was not surprised by the redhead's fiasco. After all, in the previous battle, he had already realized the huge potential hidden inside the boy's body. In the future he will surely surpass himself. Become the strongest man in the world. But that is only in the future. Now he still wants to survive this war. Thinking of this, Whitebeard's eyes looked in the direction of the execution platform, and when he saw Akainu's fist mercilessly bombarding his son's body, his eyes instantly exploded with murderous intent. "Magma Kid, your opponent is me." The big knife in his hand slashed fiercely, and the sword energy visible to the naked eye instantly rushed towards Akainu. Nose. Where the sword chi pierced, I do not know how many people lost their lives. The ground is directly scratched. And Akainu also realized that the danger was coming. His fists merged, hockey condensed on the magma, and then slammed forward fiercely. Boom! The huge explosion produced a strong shock wave, and along with the collision of the 2 moves, it swept Ming outward. Crack clap. The execution platform finally couldn't bear such a strong impact. It cracked in an instant, and Ace and Luffy fell from a height above. Will Whitebeard fight me? I've long wanted to see the tricks of the world's strongest man. As soon as the lightning flashed, Obai appeared in front of Whitebeard. His hands were still dripping with blood, but his face was extremely relaxed. Gu la, stinky brat, I'm the strongest man in this world. Whitebeard burst out laughing. The virtual white circles on his left fist converged, and the black and red hockey also condensed on the knife. The sky-high momentum instantly penetrated the sky, giving people an extremely powerful sense of oppression. Although he knew that the Whitebeard in front of him had a heart attack, his strength was far from his youth. But Obai understands that the world's strongest man is not a false name. Facing him, even the always arrogant Obai did not dare to be careless. The hands converged into a blade, the black and red hockey condensed into a solid body, and lightning bolts were wrapped around the blade-like threads. The foot exploded instantly. Obai's body rushed towards Whitebeard, and Whitebeard also showed no signs of weakness, and his entire body rose into the sky. The invisible black and red hockey condensed in the middle of the 2 sides, and the sky was shattered with thunder and lightning. Before the 2 of them made contact, a deafening sonic boom had already sounded. Boom! Accompanied by the shock wave, the sonic boom spread around, and I don't know how many people were impacted. Guion and Hancock were also affected by the shock wave, and CHCE both flew backwards. My God, how could Lord Obai be so strong? I really love my concubine. Seeing the battle in the distance, Hancock once again showed his nympho qualities. That's conquerors after awakening. Guion frowned, remembering what Sengoku said when he introduced Haki to himself in Marine. Conquerors can only be enhanced by the practitioner's own understanding in Xinsheng. The stronger your state of mind, the stronger your conquerors will be. And if you practice to the ultimate, there will be another qualitative change. That is awakening. After awakening, conquerors can condense and affect surrounding matter. It can be said to be a very profound practice. Generally speaking, conquerors will only appear in the kind of characters who are born with a king's breath, such as Roger Whitebeard, Dorag Garp and others. And Obai in front of him actually owns and awakens it. How strong is this man? At that moment, Guion's mood changed a little. Clang! When the weapons of the two top powerhouses collided, the invisible and terrifying aura spewed out like a hurricane. The entire naval headquarters trembled violently, and gullies on the ground spread like golden mesh. The sea of clouds above the sky was also torn apart by this terrifying breath. The turbulent waves stirred up hundreds of sea pillars, soaring into the sky. My God, what a terrifying power this is! This is Whitebeard, the power to destroy the world. What monsters are these two guys? At this moment, whether it is the people on the battlefield, or the people watching the live broadcast, they were all shocked by the power under their control. Crack! The arm turned into a blade, cracked one after another. Pain struck. Bursts of blood spilled out of his mouth. Obai could only feel a powerful force pouring into his body like a storm. Crazy tearing at the flesh and blood in the body. At the moment, Whitebeard's situation was not much better, and the same crack spread on the famous sword in his hand. The black and red Haki condensed into lightning, and shuttled from all over his body. Shoulders, chest, arms. Bloodline erupts. Finally, the famous knife Kongyun cutting blade could no longer bear this terrifying aura. Crack! Everything from the handle to the blade shattered and shot out. The two flew out at the same time, their legs deep into the ground. Two ravines were drawn. Looking at Whitebeard in front of him, Obai couldn't help sighing in his heart. Is this the strongest power in the world? Sure enough. Treat him. If he didn't use all his strength, I'm afraid he would have perished under Whitebeard's blade just now. Goo la 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 la. What a joy. I haven't had such a good time since Roger died. Whitebeard stood up, still in that terrifying powerhouse attitude. He laughed, his eyes full of surprise and excitement. He hadn't fought so happily in a long time. Despite the repeated battles, countless wounds appeared on his body. But it still couldn't hide Whitebeard's immortal heart and the state of being a strong man. As expected of the strongest man in the world, even if I have many means, I am obviously still stretched thin to deal with you. Not to be outdone, Obai also stood up. His body was cold, and he stared at Whitebeard, the supreme Haki, surrounded by his body. This kid will definitely surpass me in the future. Looking at the emperor-like gesture, Whitebeard thought to himself. And now behind Whitebeard, the giant battleship San Juan Evil Wolf, looking at Whitebeard's figure, revealed a hint of stupidity in his eyes. Hey, hee, is that Whitebeard? He looks so small, he seems to be someone who can be slapped to death with a slap. As a giant, he is undoubtedly a giant for human beings. Everyone who came close to him, almost all of them will be pinched to death by his slap. If I can kill this Whitebeard, the captain will reward me well. Hey. The wolf's eyes gradually revealed surprise. Then his huge body shot out suddenly, heading straight for Whitebeard. Open the right palm and shoot straight forward. Although there is no Haki twine. But the terrifying power still shreds the surrounding aura. Even the void is twisted. Daddy! The surrounding Whitebeard pirates, the crew members screamed when they saw this scene. Even at this moment, Marco was also horrified. The blue flame spreads out and wants to block it immediately. But behind him, Kizaru's body flashed, and his right leg hit his back hard, kicking him out, and smashing a huge hole on the ground. Whoops, it's a bad habit to be distracted in battle. Kizaru said very slyly, and at the same time looked at Ace and Luffy who were falling from the sky at this moment. The beams under his feet condensed and were about to blast out when Drago appeared beside Kizaru. The ability of the wind fruit in the palm is activated. Wind roll. His body turned into a beam of light, and Kizaru flashed past Drago's attack in an instant. It turns out that the dragoon's intention is not to drink. As soon as his hand moved, Ace and Luffy's bodies were supported by a pair of invisible hands and gently placed on the ground. Ace, we're saved, Luffy exclaimed in surprise. At the same time, the two wind blades cut open the conch stone handcuffs on their hands. Sabo, take them away. Drago appeared in front of the two of them, staring coldly at Akainu who was getting closer and closer to them. Yes, I understand. Sabo also understands that this is not the time to be hypocritical. Hey, I said Dorag, you are going too far, this is your sinful bloodline. If we let you go, what will our marine's face be? Akainu shouted, and the lava on his right arm boiled again. The dog bites the red lotus. Wind wall. Boom. The lava was heavily bombarded in the invisible wall composed of wind. For a while, flying sand and stone. Captain, I'm here to help you, hee hee. The palm was photographed from the sky, and the San Juan evil wolf laughed. In the past, under his terrifying slap, I don't know how many people were instantly slapped into flesh. He was already looking forward to the surprise and admiration in the captain's eyes when he saw that Whitebeard was made into flesh by himself. But what he didn't know was, at this moment Obai is holding his body, but his eyes are full of deep helplessness. This guy, 900, has a bad brain. Actually rushing up to die. You must know that in the face of power, no one in this world dares to compete with the White Tiger will. As he expected, although Whitebeard was covered in bruises at the moment, he just turned around slowly in the face of the dark shadow that was approaching. Above the left fist, the circle of light gathers again. Boom! Whitebeard's left fist collided with Wolf's right palm, but the next moment, the scene in which the Whitebeard and the Wolf's impression was filmed into a mashed meat did not appear. Instead, a huge force ripped apart his entire palm. And it spread, and in an instant, Hungry Wolf didn't even finish speaking. The entire body was directly torn apart by the endless breath in the air. Flesh and blood. Even the bones were torn into powder, and only the blood was sprinkled on the ground like raindrops. Fear, endless horror. No one thought that this Whitebeard had gone through successive battles with an old body, and was even bruised and bruised. But he can even shred the famous criminal San Juan evil wolf with one punch. Not even time to say the last word. What kind of endless power does this guy have in his body? It seems that the old guy's strength is still undiminished, and I really look forward to fighting against him. Redfield felt the terrifying breath in the distance and smiled as a fist slammed into his face. It was Garp who attacked him. Redfield flew upside down, and blood came out of his mouth, but he didn't look in any pain, instead he was extremely excited. Standing with his feet on the ground, his head turned slightly, Redfield laughed extremely excitedly. Garp, you old guy's punches don't seem to be strong enough. Could it be that your strength as a marine has gone backwards after so many years of eating and drinking? I don't know how many pirates with heinous crimes have been killed by this old man's fist. Garp snorted coldly. As an old opponent for many years, he naturally knew why the Redfield in front of him was called the Lonely Red. It's because his devil fruit is in the state of a bat fruit, a mythical beast, and a vampire. It can gain longevity by absorbing the efforts of others, become young, and can also absorb the physical strength and flesh and blood of the other party. Therefore, it has a very strong anti-attack ability. You must know that even when he and Sengoku joined forces, they couldn't completely kill Redfield. Really? Then let's get a good experience. Redfield shouted excitedly, grabbing at Garp with his master as his claw. Seeing that his crew was killed by Whitebeard in one blow, Obai's heart didn't have much turbulence. Strength in this world is respected. What's more, this San Juan evil wolf wanted to sneak attack on Whitebeard, so even if he was killed, it would be his own fault. My subordinates, there are more than in this world. What's more, this can be regarded as clearing the pirates for oneself. A weak existence in the group just saves worry and effort. You really are a ruthless captain. Looking at Obai's calm face, Whitebeard snorted coldly. Since the strength is not good, there is nothing to complain about being killed. What's more, on this sea, only coldness can survive. With his right hand on the ground, Obai's eyes turned cold, and Lion Fruit's ability was activated immediately. The stones on the ground were instantly guided by the energy and suspended in the air. Oh, This is the Golden Lion, the ability of that old guy was unexpectedly acquired by you. Whitebeard sighed, and above his fists, a virtual white circle of light converged. The battle between the two broke out again. And at this moment on the execution platform on the other side. Seeing Drago resisting Akainu for himself, Sabo also understood. This is not the time to talk about love. Only by letting Ace and Luffy go out alive will their sacrifices not be in vain. Thinking of this, he immediately grabbed the hands of Ace and Luffy. Take the two to quickly escape from here. Dorag, you are such a troublemaker. Seeing such a situation, Akainu was furious. The right fist hit Dorag, and Dorag hurriedly resisted, but the powerful and terrifying aura still knocked him out. A scorching breath came from the surface of the body. Drago's hands were already pitch black at this moment. As expected of Marine Admiral, he was able to possess such terrifying power after fighting Whitebeard. Akainu's body flew into the air, and at the same time slammed into Drago. Seeing this, Drago hurriedly used the Wind and Wind Fruit ability to fly into the air with the help of wind. Boom! Akainu's huge body fell to the ground. Smoke and dust filled the air. Just when Drago breathed a sigh of relief, countless lava spread like spider webs where Akainu had fallen. A bad premonition arose in his heart. Next moment. Great eruption Katakana middle. Magma volcano. Countless lava erupted from the surface and shot straight into the air. In an instant, the sky and the earth changed color, and the temperature in the air rose sharply. When the surrounding sea water came into contact with the lava, there was a sizzling sound, and the white mist rose. Ah, it's hot, it's hot. Hurry up and save me. It hurts. I don't know how many people on the ground were pierced by this straight face. Some had their legs blown directly. Some had their arms blown off. What's more, the head was melted directly, and the appearance was extremely terrifying. Drago in midair only felt the countless targets of the lava column rushing towards him. He wanted to wave the wind blade to resist. But the next moment, a golden beam penetrated his throat from behind. It turns out, when a genius who wants to fish all day really wants to work, his explosive ability is very powerful. I saw behind Dorag, the light beam of Kizaru's finger slowly dissipated. The eyes behind the sunglasses were very serious. Obviously at this moment, he is no longer the original ape. Old man, I want a salary increase too. Rumble rumble. Drago held his throat with both hands. He wanted to speak, but his throat was penetrated, and he couldn't say a word for a long time. The next moment he only saw that countless columns of lava covered his whole body. Turned to ashes. Drago, the leader of the GM army, is dead. Leader, boss. Countless mourning sounded on the battlefield, and many members of the Revolutionary Army looked at the Dorag covered by the lava column, and suddenly shouted in pain. Well, Dorag is dead. On the other side, Obai is fighting passionately with Whitebeard. Take time to look at the situation over there. He didn't think so. The well-known leader of the underground world in the original book has now died in this war. It seems that his arrival has promoted a lot. That guy Dorag is dead, ha ha ha. Redfield laughed. Looking at Garp in front of him, his eyes were full of pride. Being able to see the pained appearance of this person who was once his enemy was his favorite. How about it? Isn't it a bad feeling to see your son die in front of you? Do you want me to help you kill Akainu together? I think Before Redfield finished speaking, he only saw Garp's figure appearing in front of him. The iron fists hit him hard in the chest. Puff! A big mouthful of blood spewed out of his mouth. Redfield fell heavily on the ground, creating a deep ravine. I saw that Garp's face was already red at this moment. Looking at that Akainu, murderous intent filled his eyes. Garp, watch your identity. Seeing such a situation, Sengoku, who was beside him, scolded. He understood the character of this old friend. Dorag is his son anyway. At this moment the son was killed. Garp, who cares about love and righteousness, will never do anything. Haha, get angry, Garp, the more angry you are, the more I like it. Laughing pervert at Dryfield behind him, he rushed towards Garp. Only those who are angry can exert the strongest power. And what he wants to defeat is Garp in his strongest form. Chief. At this moment, Sabo was already in tears, and his heart was full of pain. If it wasn't for Drago who saved him, I'm afraid he would have fallen into the sea more than 10 years ago, and he would never have the chance to see his former brother again. But at this moment, he doesn't care about sadness, because behind him, there are two people he loves the most. He couldn't let them go into a corner because of his own grief. Dorag actually died. Ace stayed for a long time and was speechless. Although Drago didn't have much contact with him, he was Luffy's biological father after all. And he died in order to save the two of them, so the thought of this caused a sharp pain in his heart. Did you kill someone again? Hateful. Come on. Sabo shouted. Okay, so you just run away. Akainu's body appeared in the smoke, and on his right, his face had turned into lava dripping down. But those eyes were full of contempt for the three of them. Dorag died under my fist in order to save you, but you can only run away, a bunch of trash. What did you say? Hearing this, Ace turned around and shouted. Oh, isn't it? After rescuing people, they immediately ran away with their tails between their tails. What a bunch of cowards, the Whitebeard pirates. Ah, but there is no way. After all, Whitebeard is only the loser of the last century. Ace's body stopped, trembling all over his body. Ace Sabo was pulling behind him, but he didn't move. Take your words back to me. He absolutely cannot allow anyone to insult Whitebeard. Akainu still walked slowly, and said in a calm tone. Whitebeard, who has been suppressed by Roger for a lifetime, can't be called a king even if he dies, is called a loser. Isn't that natural? Come here with a bunch of ridiculous family and put on a funny show. Having said that, Whitebeard still looked at Squard not far away. Even the very beginning of the war was hurt by the idiot who caused his son in his own mouth. Nuos, isn't this an extremely failed life? Ace's face was gloomy, and flames jumped out from his left hand. And on the other side, Whitebeard and Obai, who were fighting passionately, noticed the situation here at the same time. When you see the scene in front of you, Obai was stunned for a while. This plot is too familiar. When Whitebeard heard what Akainu said, he was also silent. To shut up. You can't understand the greatness of the father at all. Sabo clearly realized something and immediately grabbed Ace's hand. Kaisho Ace, don't be provoked by him. But Ace shook his hand away and continued to talk passionately. He's the benefactor who gave us a place to live, and you won't allow him to insult him like this. Great benefactor, just a loser. Ace's body was surrounded by flames, and his anger was rising. The name of this era is called Whitebeard. After speaking, Ace's body rushed towards this Akainu. Akainu's mouth showed an imperceptible arc. However, his goal was achieved and this Ace was in front of him as he expected. Just a stupid guy. The result of the battle was self-evident, and Ace flew upside down heavily. Blood poured out of his mouth. The gap between me and you is worlds apart. One Piece Roger, Revolutionary Dorag. The blood relationship between the two of you has constituted a felony. Even if you can spare others, you two brothers must not be spared. Look well, I saw Akainu's lower body turned into lava, and above his right fist, lava gushed out. And his target is Luffy who is closest to him. Hateful. Sabo was shocked and wanted to rush up, but Ace's figure was faster than him. Puff. The next second, a scene that shocked everyone except Obai happened. Ace, captain of the 2nd Division of the Whitebeard Pirates, protects his younger brother Luffy. Punched through the chest by a giant lava fist. On the ground, the paper of life gradually burned. A life is quietly falling. Ace. Blood gushing out, Ace with a pained face, Luffy murmured. Cough. Shao I spat out a mouthful of blood, and the severe pain in his body made him unable to move. Hateful. Seeing such a situation, Sabo was furious. His right hand turned into a dragon claw and grabbed Akainu's face. Meanwhile on the other side, Jinbei also rushed towards this side quickly. Whitebeard, your son is dead. On the battlefield, Obai, who already knew that the next scene of brotherly love would follow. He said calmly to Whitebeard in front of him. Whitebeard didn't answer, but the momentum inside the body was rising invisibly. Cracks on the ground are cracking open. Boom. Whitebeard's body burst out, charging towards Obai. A halo appeared on the right fist. The pressure of this circle CHCE is indeed heavier than before. This guy is angry. Obai didn't care either. He knew that in the face of the angry Whitebeard, if he retained any strength, he would definitely be shattered instantly. Above the right fist, thunder suddenly appeared. In the left fist, a virtual white circle of light also appeared. And this aperture is Whitebeard's earthquake fruit. Liu Obai had already copied it at the time of the fight. And for this, Whitebeard has long been calm, at this moment. Want to find someone to vent, or so. I want to kill this young man in front of me. This is because of his blocking that led to the current situation. Have you resented me? If Whitebeard is so, then use all your strength to fight against me. Liu Obai shouted loudly. He'd seen Whitebeard's mentality long ago, but even if he let him go, things would end the same way. Just because of the ace he regarded as his son was a complete idiot. The bodies of the two are close again, and both sides understand that this is the last game of life and death at this moment. Boom! The huge explosion sounded a strong shock wave, and the two of them collided, and they erupted in an instant. All the surrounding waves burst out vigorously, and even naval headquarters instantly collapsed into pieces of rubble because it couldn't bear such a powerful force. Crack! Above the sky, countless black and red lightning bolts cut through the sky in an instant. As if the gods were furious. Even Akainu, who injured Sabo with a punch and knocked Jinbei and Luffy into the air, was also affected by the battle here. A strong shock wave rushed into his body. A mouthful of blood poured out. Even he was shocked by the battle here. That young man was able to fight Whitebeard, with this. Who the hell is this man? The eyes of the audience were instantly condensed on the result of the battle. When the smoke and dust gradually rose, people only saw a tall body standing in the smoke. That body is Whitebeard. Sure enough, Whitebeard still won. It seems that this new era guy has been wiped out. As expected of the strongest man in the world, he can still kill that terrifying guy. Great. The people raised their hands and cheered. In their eyes, Whitebeard is already an old man, and even if he survives this war, he will die soon. And Liu Obai is so young, it will be the biggest disaster. That kid is dead. Sengoku and Kong took a deep breath. With their eyesight, it was natural to see that Liu Obai's strength was already comparable to that of Whitebeard and Golden Lion. It will surely be naval headquarters' biggest enemy in the future. Liu Obai is dead. Liu Obai's women looked at the scene in front of them and couldn't believe it. In their eyes, Liu Obai, who looked like a god and invincible, died in the battle with Whitebeard like this. No, it's impossible. Aiya, is the captain dead? It's such a pity. Bullet laughed, but there was no regret in his eyes. The reason why he agreed to become Liu Obai's subordinate was because of his strength. If Liu Obai died in the battle, he would take the position. Able to conquer him. It was only strength. It's so cold. Bullet. Ice covered his cheeks, and ice cubes in Qingzi's right hand condensed. The strength of the two sides is comparable, so there has been no winner. However, when everyone was happy, the smoke gradually dissipated. A scene that shocked everyone happened. I saw that the tall body standing was indeed Whitebeard. But at this moment, Whitebeard's eyes were tightly closed, and a huge hole had appeared in his chest. Blood flowed out of the cave. The strongest man in the world is dead. But even in death, his godlike posture was still standing. After dozens of seconds, Liu Obai's body climbed up from the ground, and his shirt was completely torn, revealing an incomparably strong body. For flowers. And above the body, it is also full of wounds, and real blood flows out from the corners of the mouth. His arms were covered in bruises. Obviously, he was also not badly injured. Looking at the tall Whitebeard in front of him, Liu Obai couldn't help but smile, and a look of admiration rose in his heart. As expected of you, Whitebeard. Even if it has been exhausted, it can still burst out such terrifying power. He could clearly feel that when he used the power of shock fruit, the bones of his left hand were completely shattered by the powerful force. If it weren't for the use of hockey to maintain, I am afraid that the left hand would have been completely turned into flesh and blood. Disappear. This battle is probably the most difficult since he arrived in the world of One Piece. It is also the closest to life and death. If not at the last moment, I will gather all hockey. Thus resisting the impact of Whitebeard's power. I am afraid that now he has also been shattered all over his body. Died on the spot. Haha, this old guy is finally dead. A rough voice came from behind. It was Blackbeard Teach. He looked at the dead body of Whitebeard, his eyes filled with infinite longing. After so long, his goal has finally been achieved. Yes, he wants to capture Whitebeard's fruit ability and become the owner of the double fruit ability. But Blackbeard's eyes turned to Obai. I saw Obai at the moment, covered in embarrassment, with scars all over his body. Hockey all over disappeared. Thinking of this, a blood-like light appeared in Blackbeard's eyes, and a murderous aura emerged. This guy just fought Whitebeard, if he could kill him. Oh, Blackbeard, do you want to fight with me? Seeing to see through his thoughts, Obai just smiled slightly. Staring at 903, Blackbeard. Although it was plain, it made Blackbeard's heart feel as if something was tugging at it. Thinking of Obai's bizarre multi-fruit ability and the incomparably powerful hockey, he couldn't help gasping for breath, and a coldness appeared on his cheeks. Shouldn't this guy have something behind him? With a tangled expression on his face, he spoke after a while. Haha, we're allies, how could I possibly do anything to you? Obai didn't answer, just stood up and looked at Whitebeard, the standing body. Then said, can't destroy his body. Blackbeard was stunned for a while, understood what Obai meant, and finally agreed. He took out a black cloth and covered Whitebeard's body. Turn around and walk into the black cloth. Obai ignored his actions and turned to look in front of him. Several people stood in front of him. They are members of the Red Hair Pirates. Why did you come to seek revenge when you saw that I was seriously injured? It seems that you are also trash. Obai smiled contemptuously, and the words were full of disdain. You kid, we want to avenge the captain. Lackey, one of the Red Hair Pirates' crew members, shouted, took a bite of the meat in his hand, and rushed towards Obai. In the distance, Red Hair Pirate's sniper, Usopp, aimed a gun at Obai's head. Obai didn't have any fear. He could see that the two people in front of him only dared to attack when he was seriously injured in the battle. Otherwise, after the battle with the redhead just now, they should attack. Just a bunch of cowards. In the face of Fatty's attack, Obai did not evade, but received his punch. Lackey was shocked, knowing that his punch could shatter a mountain. But the guy in front of him didn't move at all, and he didn't look seriously injured at all. But just as he was stunned, his right fist was covered with ice cubes. This is Marine Admiral's ability, Before he could finish speaking, his whole body was frozen into an ice sculpture. Obai ignored him, just stretched out his right hand and pointed his finger to the place where Jesus was not. A beam of light fires from the finger. PFF'd. The beam of light penetrated his head in an instant without any suspense. Usopp's eyes widened. He never expected Obai's movements to be so quick in a split second. Found his place. His finger was on the trigger, but he couldn't hold it any longer. Looking at Usopp's body, Obai smiled coldly. In the original book, this guy abandoned his wife and son for his own adventure, allowing Usopp to be laughed at in the village and his wife to be bullied. Such a man can still be called a true temperament by readers. Simply ridiculous. It's not a pity to die. After solving the two troubles, Obai looked towards the battlefield in the distance. At this time, the Kai dog is chasing the Whitebeard pirates and the remnants of the GM army. And the funny thing is, these two organizations, known as the world's powerful forces, were hunted down by the marine soldiers led by Akainu like a swarm of ants after their leaders died in battle. In particular, the Whitebeard pirates fought to protect the seriously injured Luffy for the ridiculous will of Ace. But he allowed his companions to be slaughtered by Marine. It is extremely ridiculous to give up one's companion for a stranger, such a pirate group. I hope everyone will support it and subscribe more.